definitely here, but I don't know if he dropped back down and came back in. So he'll kind of take president in the queue when he come back. The Hebrew, did you want to add? And then we had the 12 on the stage after that. Did you want to add Hebrew? Let me see. It says the Hebrew awakening.
Yeah, what's up?
What's going on? Did you want to add to the conversation?
Yeah, I'm OT only, so I just listened to what you guys were talking about. Think it's good to have the conversation
Understood. Think
on
well. I apologize. Godal just popped back in. If you don't mind, if you
no
can.
problem.
Yeah. My bad, Godal. Oh, you had popped out the room. I was just trying to introduce anybody that wanted to speak that was in the queue.
Yeah, man, y'all was spending all that time with them weak dudes, man. If y'all really want to, if I don't know whoever want to have a conversation, y'all really want to have a conversation with the OT only. I'm here for questions and to have a dialogue.
I do want to ask you this, Gadol. We've had talks before. We understand how to talk to each other. Do you believe in a messianic figure, or do you believe that the Bible, when it speaks of Messiah, is more of an idea?
I believe in a messianic era, and I believe it's going to be more than one messianic figure.
Mm. That's
Well,
the first time I heard any OT only
Yeah,
say that.
that's my first time hearing that position.
No,
Because
honestly, be honest.
usually the
It's my
traditional.
first time hearing anybody say that from any persuasion. But go ahead.
Yeah,
well, the
I've
reason
never heard that. Go
the
ahead.
reason why I say that is because in Daniel 12, it says the angel Michael is going to stand during the messianic era. Um, in Ezekiel, it says the Davidic son of David, the prince, he's going to be.
Hey,
Um,
Salaki Gadal, if you can, just could you call the verses for the people who are not familiar? Because it's a lot
Okay.
of people that may not even be familiar with your position. Period, King.
okay, so the one about Michael is Daniel 12 verses 1 and 2. If y'all want to read it, y'all can. But the Michael is going to stand. The prince from King David, from the lineage of David, is Ezekiel chapter 45 and 21. I think it is. Let me double check. Let me go grab that. Ezekiel chapter 45, I think it is. Yeah, I'll start at verse 21. This is the future, by the way. It says the first month of the 14th day of that month you shall have the Passover, a feast of 7 days. Unleavened bread shall be eaten. Upon that day the prince shall prepare for himself and for all the people of the land a bullock for a sin offering. So that prince, in the book of Ezekiel, he calls David the prince. Some people say that's David resurrected. Some people say that's uh, the Messiah or the king from the line of David, one of David's descendants. Either way, that's going to be a figure in the future, as well as Michael from Daniel 12. Also in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 40. Let me get to that one about the priests from the line of Zadok. That's Ezekiel chapter 44:15. And the priests, the Levites, the sons of Zadok, that kept the charge of my sanctuary when the children of Israel went astray from me, they shall come near unto me to minister unto me, and they shall stand before me to offer unto me fat and of the blood, saith the Lord. So far you have three: the Michael the high priest, Michael the archangel, the Davidic son of David, Zadok the high priest, and then you also have in the book of Malachi, chapters 3 and chapters 4, Elijah is going to be back in the future. So during that messianic time period, there's going to be at least four figures that come to do a job. That's where I get that understanding from.
And
Yeah, that was new to me too. That was
Joel,
new. Yeah, interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
Joel, that's fulfilled.
So you don't.
I've never heard that. So you would say that mainstream Jew? Oh, sorry, my fault, yo. Somebody trying to say something.
Nah, go ahead. I can ask after.
Corey, you trying to say something?
No, I was really asking. Did that fulfill your question? Because I knew you had asked him the question, so I was just.
Yeah, no, yeah. Like, see how I asked him something and he answered it, and we listened to him. Y'all
You did
Christians
mention.
can't do it.
Hey Joel, you didn't assume because he was OT only that he had one position. You had to actually ask him a
Mhm.
question so you can parse out the nuance between his belief and somebody else.
See that? So that's
Right.
how you learn who you talking to. Yo, so Gadol, would you say that that's the commonplace Judaic understanding, or would you say that mainstream Judaism they believe in a Messiah figure?
They believe in a Messiah figure, but they also believe in different ones. They probably don't word it as me for, but they believe Elijah's coming back. They also believe in the Davidic son of David. They also believe Zadok is coming back, and they also believe Michael the high priest is going to be back. So they believe all those characters are coming, but they probably won't word it the same way I word it. But they do believe in the future those people are coming back, and some of them even add Mashiach ben Yosef. They add another one there for Messiah, the son of Joseph from the northern kingdom. So
So,
Mm.
so their position on Michael the high priest. Can you
not
elaborate on that?
not Mike. I misspoke. Not Michael the high priest. Michael the archangel. I
Oh,
misspoke.
okay. All
Yeah.
right. Okay. All right. So an angelic being is going to be the another Messiah figure. Is what they
Yeah.
essentially teach. They believe. Okay.
Now, in our paradigm, our Messiah figure is going to come and depose Edom as the ruling nation and destroy them. Is that what your Messiah figures are going to do?
I wouldn't say as the ruling nation. I do believe Esau is going to be one of the nations that get punished. I don't believe they're going to be the ruling nation. I believe the children of Japheth is going to be the ruling nation, ruling
Mm.
nations. Because when you go to and the reason why I say this because when you go to the book of Ezekiel, and it describes the war of Gog and Magog, I believe those the nations that's going to be in charge of the battle against us. Like I'm gonna read it, Ezekiel chapter 38. I'll start at verse 1. It says, "The word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog of the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him." So those are sons of Japheth. When you jump down to, I'm gonna just read verse 3, and say, "Thus saith the Lord God, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal." Those are sons of Japheth. Verse 5, "Persia, Ethiopia, Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet, Gomer, another son of Japheth, all his bands."
Your mic went out.
So in
Yo,
the future,
your
go
mic
ahead.
went out. Your mic went out after you said Gomer.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you good now.
Yeah, so verse 6, Gomer and all his bands in the house of Tolgomer. Those are all sons of Japheth. It named at least 4 to 5 sons of Japheth that's going to be leading this band in the future against the children of Israel. So I believe the sons of Japheth are going to be the head, but also Esau is going to be a part of there. They're going to get punished as well because they got to get wiped out every time they try to build up and get power.
Would you say that uh, Meshach and Tubal can also be rendered as a location, like a region? Because
Yeah,
I understand the point of it, these are rendered as descendants of a certain man, but we know there are places that are named after those people, but other people live there. So is that something fair to
That's
say
that's what
again?
modern scholars say when they rationalize who Gomer and Tubal is today. They bring up Russia and people around the Caspian Sea, and we know that those people are Caucasoids. Those are
Yeah, those are white
Edomites.
people.
yeah, I think it's fair to say that could be a location, just like in the Bible, Israel, Zion, Jerusalem. Those are locations, but a lot of time it could be talking about the people. So yeah, I can see that as well. But I also see most of the time, a lot of the times, when it names these men, it also talks about their bloodline and their descendants. But I'm not against it being the land at all.
Yeah, because I would be under the suspicion that a certain nation has taken these different places as their own inheritance, just like they did with our land. I think they have gone into these different places that were prescribed to other peoples, and they took it as their own. Um, so
You
so
can,
they don't become the descendants of those people because they have inherited that land for themselves through war and conquest, but rather they can be identified as uh, inhabitants of the region. So it's a fair translation or a fair identifying marker to call them Mishach and Tubal, right? I think that's what the writer may be conveying in Ezekiel.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Look, it really don't
That's
matter.
that's the assertion made by the Christological scholar who sees things through the New Testament. That's the way they
Yeah,
rationalize
so
it.
yes, that's just how that's just my lens as
Yeah,
someone who believes in Christ.
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be upset with that. At the end of the day, whether that's Edom or whether that's the bloodline, I still believe they white people. So, like, if you believe,
yeah,
yeah, so it really don't
and
matter at that point.
that's the truth. That's the bottom line. Is that there's just that discrepancy. We call him Esau. Some of our other Israelite brothers call it Japhet. And there's a whole period of history that goes unstudied by a lot of people that kind of shed some light onto what it is Ashaya and what Gadal was talking about, and that's the Peloponnesian War. And a lot of times, because it's not mentioned in the Bible, we because we're Bible people, we skip it. But if you study the Peloponnesian War, it kind of fills in and answers some of the questions that brothers are preparing on the table. Because the Peloponnesian War was a war between, the Japhetic nations, and you had the Macedonians to the north that were basically like leeches. They were sitting and trying to figure out who had the stronger position, and whoever had the stronger position, they would make an alliance with them, right? And that's what they did. They made an alliance with the stronger side that won the war, and then after the war was over, they started displacing both sides. It's a long war. It's a long history, a lot to sift through, but that's a condensed version of what happened during the Peloponnesian War and after the Peloponnesian War. And we know that the Macedonians is where you get Philip of Macedonia, Alexander, et cetera, et cetera. So what I'm saying is some of the lands that have Japhetic names, as we know them today, the Macedonians actually went and displaced certain populations amongst those people and put themselves in those lands and rule them. These are facts. So you have to study outside the Bible to kind of know this history. So I understand what Gadal was saying. I also understand what Ashai was saying. And there's, like I said, a lot of history outside the Bible that you have to study to kind of reconcile these things.
That's a fact.
So, but what about what Ezekiel said in Ezekiel 36 and 5, Gadol, that Edom would take the land into their possession and cast it out for prey? I see the fulfillment of that scripture as the after the Herodian dynasty, John Hyrcanus allowing Herod to marry into the royalty of Israel and thus setting themselves up as the leaders. I think the fulfillment of that is modern day Jewry. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I agree with that 100%. Everything what you said when John Hyrcanus forced converted them, I believe a lot. Y'all might agree with this point though. I believe during that time period of first century, I believe a lot of them that were running around saying they were Jews were actually Edomites. Um, that's why Herodian, he was he was called the king of the Jews. He was an Edomite. So that's why they opened the gates to the city to let the Romans in there to take it and destroy it. So yeah, I think a lot of them was Edomites. I think that
Yeah, that's
temple was
recorded by
destroyed.
Josephus.
Yeah, I think that temple was destroyed because it was an Edomite temple. Herod made additions to it. Even to this day, the only part of that temple still standing is the Wailing Wall, and that's the Edomite wall that they go pray to. So yeah, I agree with you. That also was going to go into my next question because even though the Edomites, hijacked our identity, that doesn't mean when we go into the Bible and we see Israel, that is talking about the people that hijacked our identity. It still will be talking about people, the true bloodline. So even when it comes to other nations, just because other nations went and hijacked their land and their identity, I don't automatically put it away as if that prophecy talks about them, because if
I
if
see
it
what you're
did,
saying.
it would kind of backfire against us because these people hijack our identity. Does that mean they fall and fit our prophecies?
No, so I see what you're saying, but that it would have to be true across the board if we apply that logic. But I don't see that as pertaining to the promises given to Israel. Like these are covenantal promises, which is why the context could never be referring to other people outside of the children of Israel, the children of Jacob, because these are things attached to them through covenantal promise. As far as a prophecy concerning a war or a conflict that would happen between God's people and another people, I wouldn't equate that to covenantal promises. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but what about the curses?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's part of your agreement with God to keep His commandments. So the curses were never said that they would be upon the heathen if you disobey God's commandments. No, the curses would be upon you if you disobey.
Like for
So
example, my bad. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, for example, like in Genesis, the son of Japheth is Javan, right? When you go into the book of Daniel or other places, Javan, who is the son of Japheth, is translated as Greeks. So when I see Javan in the Bible, I see that as a literal son of Japheth. It's talking about a bloodline. Just like when I see Israel, I see that as a literal bloodline. So it will be hard for me to understand that just because someone took over Greece, that now they get to fit the prophecies about Javan, who is a son of Japheth. That's where I struggle with that at. Even though I can see the way you guys view it, that just struggle me how they get to hijack prophecy against this bloodline, even though they're not in the bloodline. But other people that's not Israel, even though they hijack our identity, they don't get to hijack our prophecy. That's not consistent, So that's where I struggle with that at.
Yeah, I don't see Edom inheriting the curses just because they flaunt themselves as Israel. They don't inherit the curses or the promises. They get neither. That's what I would say.
No, I agree. That's what I'm saying. So when it comes to Javan, how can the Greeks be Edomites when in the Bible Javan is the Greeks and they come from Japheth? How can they hijack their prophecy and get what they was prophesied to get as Javan?
Well, I think what you mentioned was a matter of translation, translation choice. That word being translated legally to Greek, I think is a matter of translation. We would have to discuss that translation and how or why or if this was a mistake by the scribe or writer.
Because I don't think the Greco-Roman Empire existed in the sense that we know it in the time of who said that? Amos or Joel?
Was it Joel?
Who said that, Gadol?
I was referring to the book of Daniel chapter 8. That's what I was referring to.
Yeah, I don't think the Greco-Roman Empire existed the way we know it during the time of Daniel.
Can I
them to be referred to as the Greeks?
Yeah, Daniel was in the time of the Babylonian.
But I'm saying it was a prophecy. And then when we look at the fulfillment of the prophecy, who Daniel said was going to be Javan in history, they were historically called the Greeks. So if the Greeks, who are white people, are Edomites, how can they fit the prophecy that was prophesied on Javan, the son of Japheth?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Because remember, you can appropriately call them Javan, or Meshach and Tubal, because they inhabit those areas. That would have been given to those people as an inheritance. So it's legal to call them the place that they inhabit. That's legal, right? As far as comparing it to the promises the Most High God gave to Israel by name, which would be a bloodline, I don't think you could compare the two, because this is talking about a conflict that's supposed to happen between these people that are here and the children of Israel. And this is prophetic. So I think but just my opinion, I think it does harmonize the idea that there are people that are going to come that are going to take over these places, and those people are descendants of another, though they can be called the place they inhabit. If I'm making sense.
No, I understand 100% what you're saying. The issue I'm having, like, if you said it can go for both, that would be consistent, right? If you said a people can come and take over the land of Israel, now they can be called as Israel, and when you see prophecies in the Bible about Israel, it can be talking about them because it's talking about the land. I would say, know what, you being consistent. I don't really have no pushback. But when you say, it can't happen with Israel, but it can happen with Javin, even though we know Javin in Genesis 10 is a people, it's a bloodline. It's not just a land. So when we talk about Javin, even if we talk about the land, we talking about the land of this bloodline. But it seemed like you're not being consistent. You're saying it can't happen for Israel, but it can happen for Javin. That's the only problem I have. But it's not a big point. We don't got to stay on that.
Yeah, no, and just last thing I'll say is I definitely understand your point. I'm just saying that in the time that this prophecy is given, this is given by Daniel. It wasn't always the discussion of the prophets that you were going to war with the people in this place that Daniel was referring to, or if you want to say the descendants of Japheth. That wasn't something that was always prophesied, right? So Daniel is talking about a specific occurrence in history, something that's to come. And in that particular part of history, we recognize that as that place where, and when this is supposed to happen, well, that place is occupied by a different people.
I
So
think it's easier to say it like this, Ash. The definition of the word Javan is not the Greek people. It's Greece, the place.
right, it's a location.
You see what we're saying?
You know,
Dog?
I see what you're saying, but that could be the same thing for Israel. They say Israel is the land or Israel's this.
No,
But
you
when we
can't. You
go to
can't do
Genesis
that. No,
10,
I don't agree. You can't do that with Israel
Well,
because
let him
Israel is a
finish first.
name
Let him
of
finish
a man.
first.
Oh, my bad. Go
yeah,
ahead.
when we go to Genesis, Javin is a person in the people group. So when I see Javin, even if we're referring it to a land, it's talking about this people. That's how I'm seeing it. But again, it's not a big deal. No
Yeah,
matter how
but
you,
that's
yeah, go ahead.
another definition. You know, words have multiple definitions and can
Mhm.
be used multiple ways.
And you,
Javan could be used to describe the actual people, but it could also be used to describe a place. And if you look at it that way, it makes a lot of sense.
no, I understand what you're saying. I understand. It's not a big deal. So in Daniel 8, y'all believe it's not talking about Jav and the bloodline. It's talking about the place. I understand what you're
Yeah,
saying.
it's not
It's not a
talking
big
about
deal.
the person. It's talking about the geographical area.
Right,
The prince of that place, not the prince of the
the house
uh
of Javin, or the
I want to say it right
patriarch.
though. Not the prince of the Japhethites. It's saying the prince of Greece, the place. You understand? You see where I'm coming from?
No, I see what you're saying. I disagree. When it says the king of Javin, I believe it's talking about the king of the people Javin. But you say it's the
I mean,
king of the place. It's not
you
a
have
big
a
deal. Yeah,
fair argument there. It's not like it's see, we won't do that. It's not like it's crazy what you're saying. No, you have an argument there.
yeah. It's not a big major point. It is what it is.
I appreciate you taking my questions.
No problem.
Yeah, I get definitely get what he was making a point out of, coming out of Genesis 10 with Javon and relating that, and I get both sides because it also represents the place itself, and it's translated as the place right there in Daniel 8. It says Grecian, I believe. So I mean, I think it's a good argument because you're kind of pleading to the Hebrew to say, hey, but this Grisha term goes back to Javan. So I think it could extend out to even how Egypt works as it being a place mainly throughout the text, but it still is a country that goes back to Mizraim. So it's like, is it always literal descendants, or even with uh what is that? Canaanites migrating into Philistia and stuff like that is a literal Philistines. You know, so I think it's a good conversation. Even when you look at the text, sometimes it communicates like a Jew, but it's not a literal Israelite. You know, so yeah, I think it's a good conversation.
Yeah, like Drusilla. She's called a Jewess. But she's not an Israelite.
Right. And if you guys know a little about history, which I'm sure Godal knows history as well, Egypt is always known as Egypt throughout history, and Egypt is always known as Egypt in the Bible. But we know that there were four dynasties that were ruled by outsiders, right? You have the 15th dynasty, the 17th dynasty, the 25th dynasty, which I believe was the Persians. You had the Cushites ruling at some time. You had the Hyksos ruling at another time. These are all outsiders, but Egypt is always known as Egypt regardless. So it's one of those very nuanced conversations that we could have, and everybody's making good points on both sides. And we do see your point, Godal, but hopefully you can see our point in looking at it that the meaning of Greece changes because there's a different group of people ruling it later on, which is why we look at it the way we look at it. But we also see what you're saying as well. You see what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah,
So
no, I definitely see your point. Yeah, that's why I said it's not
yeah,
even a big deal because I see exactly what y'all saying. That's why there's no need
yeah,
to even to argue about it because I
yeah,
see
yeah.
what you're saying.
Yeah, because it's the only thing that you can do from there. That's why I be liking these conversations a lot more because you can learn in them. The only thing you can do from there is the first thing you always say, and I said this the other day. First thing you can say is, "All right, your position is rational." That's honest.
Facts, yeah.
Hey, my position, do you feel is rational? Yes, yes, I feel your position is rational. Okay, how does it work through the rest of the text? If it works through the rest of the text, both positions, we have to understand that we're at the very least 2,000 years displaced from when the things took like happened. So if both positions is rational, it's kind of one of those situations where I know from at least our end, when Christ come back, he'll get it together, because both positions is rational, both of them, and we were not there, we were not eyewitnesses. So it's not like, hey, I seen this, so I can tell you this. No, we have the recordings and the writings. So we taking a position on text that's rational, and then that's it. You just shake your hands and keep moving.
Hey, Godal, can I ask you a question real quick, just on something you said earlier, and then you can move on. It's real quick. You said that you believe in a messianic period. So my understanding of period means periods come to an end. So I'm pretty sure you're familiar with our understanding that when our Messiah, as we understand, it returns, our kingdom is everlasting. But you spoke about a messianic period. So really quickly, is there an end to this period? And if so, what comes after that?
I wouldn't say it end. When you talking about the Messianic era or age is when Michael, all the people come, the children of Israel are redeemed back into their land. The wars happen that's prophesied about, and then once everything gets settled in Zechariah 14, all nations that were left off, they serve Israel. That's when, okay, this is the establishment of the kingdom, and that's it. The Messianic era leads to pretty much the when all the wars and stuff are over, the peace, the Israelites reign in their kingdom, all that stuff. That's what the Messianic era leads to.
I would say Daniel 7 as well.
Yeah, Daniel 7. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and who's going to rule in that kingdom? Once the messianic era ends, who's going to rule? Because we understand that to be David or the son of David, as we understand. That's one that I think we would agree with. So who would be ruling in in that kingdom?
I'll say this: I'm split between the two. The reason why I'm split between the two about whether it's the literal David or just the son of David is because the Bible speaks about a
Just
resurrection.
quick question: you split between Christ and David? That's the two, right?
No, no, I'm not. So the Bible speaks about a resurrection happening, right? So when I look into this, all right, the resurrection happened. I believe all the patriarchs, all the great men are going to be resurrected, right? So if David's going to be resurrected, it kind of makes sense. David would sit on his own throne in the future in the resurrection, after the resurrection. But then I also understand in Ezekiel when it says David, their king or their prince, it could 100% be talking about a son of David. So I'm split between the two, and I haven't fully stood on one yet. You know, so
Yeah.
I'm split between that.
Because where I would get kind of tripped up at is if David is promised by the Most High God that one was going to come from his loins and inherit the throne and sit on it forever. How could it be David himself doing it?
That
It's
already
supposed
happened.
to be
Yeah, I believe that was
supposed to be his
fulfilled.
son.
That was fulfilled.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
You believe that was Solomon?
Yeah.
Correct, verbatim.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's where of course I would disagree, but yeah, I just wanted to know like how would you rationalize that? But y'all, it's what we thought already.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
y'all want to go through it?
and before you go here, but I want to say this, then y'all can have it. And I was contemplating on this, whether like during the Messianic era there would be a son of David around that helps get everything in order. Then once David is resurrected, then he sits upon his own throne. I was thinking about that, but still I'm not sure. But how y'all make sense of that? Do y'all feel like when in Daniel 12 when it says there's going to be some risen to everlasting life and as everlasting contempt, then God tells Daniel to go rest and he's going to be resurrected. Do y'all believe that like Abraham, all the great men, including David, are going to be resurrected in the future?
Yes, everybody's gonna be resurrected to face the judgment. Everybody.
So when David's resurrected, do you believe like he's gonna be under Christ, or he's like what do you think is gonna happen with David in the future?
Well, of course, I believe that Christ is the Messiah that David spoke of, who is his Lord. So yes, I believe
Okay.
David would submit to the rulership of his Lord because of his loins, this man was risen up. So David will be glorified, but Christ is going to be placed into the theocratic position of ruler of the nation of Israel.
Got you. And that's why that like where I don't feel like it makes sense, because if it's David's throne and David's going to be resurrected, it kind of makes no sense. Why wouldn't David sit upon his own throne if he's going to be resurrected
It's just
and he was the man after God's own heart? So that's why I kind of like go back and forth with that. So yeah.
It's just a figure. It's just a figure of speech. Like when the Northern Kingdom said, "What do we have in David?" David wasn't king when they said that,
Mm-hmm.
but they was talking about his son.
Mm-hmm.
They said, "What have we to do with David or with Judah?" You know the account I'm talking about, Gadol?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Sure.
So David represents the house of David, which is just the scepter with Judah.
Fine.
You understand?
Yeah, and that's why I understand that. That's why I said I'm split between the two, because I 100% see how even David's sons are represented as David. Even the nation of Israel are called Israel. So we know the Davidic kings are called David. But then if the literal David is going to be resurrected in the future, it's kind of like, is he going to sit on his own throne? But that's just where I'm at with it. But it's not a that's just how I see it. But I wouldn't be surprised or I wouldn't be surprised if it's not the literal David on the throne that is his son, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it is the literal David. That's just how I see it.
I I'm seeing the issue is still with Edom because the messianic figure got to come from Taman and Dedan, and his garment got to be stained in blood. Who is this that cometh from Basra? It still got to, like, the Messiah's appearance is synonymous with Edom's destruction. I don't think there's no way around that.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Edom gonna be destroyed. I don't disagree with that. Edom's 100% gonna be destroyed. Every time they build up, they was destroyed before. They was destroyed during the time of Maccabees and conquered, and they're gonna be destroyed in the future. I don't disagree with that. I'm not one of those dudes that try to save Edom.
John.
Did y'all want to go over the 2 Samuel chapter 7?
Sure, we can. 2 Samuel 7:16.
Let me get the quote up real quick. 1 second. I'm sorry.
Your position is that this is fulfilled through Solomon, correct?
Yeah, I'm on the same side as Prolific. Shalom, by the way. How you doing?
Shalom.
Ugh. My laptop up. I mean, Godot, if you want to read it, if you want to read it, I'm just waiting for my laptop to
Yeah.
start.
All right. Second Samuel, I'll read it for you. 2 Samuel 7, verse 12. And this KJV only in here, right?
No, you can read whatever translation you want to read. It's all good.
All right, so go to 2 Samuel 7. Let me grab that in my. All right, 2 Samuel 7. I'll start at verse 12. It says, "And the Lord declared to you that He Himself will establish a house for you. And when your days are fulfilled and you rest with your fathers, somebody give me background noise. All right. And when your days are fulfilled and you rest with your fathers, I will raise up your descendant after you, who will come from your own body, and I will establish his kingdom. He will build a house for my name, and I will establish the kingdom of his throne forever. I will be his father, and he will be my son. When he does wrong, I will discipline him with the rod of men and with the blows of the sons of men. But my loving devotion will not be removed from him as I removed it from Saul, whom I moved out of your way. Your house and your kingdom will endure before me, and your throne will be established forever."
So my position right here is, if you follow the storyline, this is literally verbatim talking about King Solomon. You can confirm all of this in First Chronicles 28 or Second Chronicles 28, one of the two. I think where most people get it a little confused when it says forever, my position is the forever is a condition, not forever. Like, no matter what you do, your kingdom's gonna rule or your throne's gonna be forever. It's conditional, and I can confirm that in First Chronicles.
All right, so we can visit that, but there were some things said before. Can we go back to verse 14? Can you read that again, Goodall?
Yeah, verse 14. It says, "I will be his father, he will be my son, and when he does wrong, I will discipline him with the rod of men and with the blows of the sons of men."
When did this happen to Solomon?
First Kings chapter 11. The Most High raised up an adversary against King Solomon after he sinned.
Yeah, can we read that? Let me read that account.
Yeah, First Kings chapter 11. I believe it's verse 14. Let me find it real
And
quick.
before we read that, I want to say this. When it says the rod and the blows, do we understand that the Most High uses other nations, for example, Assyria, to be his rod to chastise his people? Do we
The
understand
dog.
that?
Before they answer that, the only question I have for you is, what version are you reading out of, just so I can follow
I
along?
was just reading from the JPS Tanakh. I think no, but I wasn't. I was reading from the Septuagint. I didn't even mean to read from the Septuagint. But
Okay,
Yeah,
I usually read from the
y'all got,
JPS Tanakh, 1917.
y'all
but
got
to
it.
answer your question, Gadal, yes,
I'm
we
in the K,
understand that. We understand that.
Yeah, we understand the heathen is
Okay.
the rod of
I'm in the
the
KJV. I'm in the KJV because I already know most people use that, so I'm gonna just be in the KJV. But
Yeah, it's
I'm gonna
fine.
read
What
First
he's
Kings
read
chapter
so
11 verse
far
4.
is saying the same thing that we're reading.
Okay, perfect, no problem. So
But go
to
ahead.
answer the question, First Kings chapter 11 verse 14, it said, "And the Lord stirred up, sorry, an adversary unto Solomon, Hadai the Edomite, and he was the king's sorry, and he was of the king's seed in Edom." And then I think earlier in the chapter or lower in the chapter, he also raised up another adversary. So he had two adversaries raised up against him after he sinned. So that's when he got, the rod of men, would be my argument.
Yeah, but we understand the rod of men and this rod and the rod which is the heathen, as Prolific said. These are the heathen conquering you. In order for the rod to be against you and it to be used to chastise you, chasten you, you went into captivity.
Mhm.
Would you say that the heathen were used as a rod of chastisement against the Israelites when the Israelites went into captivity under them?
I would say it went into
Yeah.
captivity, but so when it says that the Most High stirred up an adversary unto Solomon, what does that mean?
No. Listen, I'm asking you, do you believe that when the heathen are risen up and take the children of Israel under captivity, that is them being enacted as the rod of chastisement?
In most
Yes or no?
positions, yes. Yes, in most positions, yes.
Right. So the reason why I asked that, right, is because there's a punishment pronounced in verse 14 if he goes off. Well,
Correct.
we see many kings after Solomon's rule that have enemies risen up against them, and then we see examples of kings that go under captivity.
I agree.
So verse 14 not only fits, if you're making this the description, if you're making this case in First Kings that this is how Solomon fulfills this, we have many examples of other kings after Solomon that fulfill this. So this can't be something that is solely purposed to Solomon then, if that's your point. If your point is this is Solomon and he's the one that fulfills this and this is solely purposed to Solomon, well, there's other kings after Solomon that fit this. Verse 14.
No problem. No problem. So what the problem is, I don't know why. Well, I know why, but I wouldn't say the rod of men is only captivity. We have read multiple times in the Judges.
You breaking up.
Yeah, you breaking up.
You breaking up still? Can you hear me?
Matrix.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you right now.
Okay, no, I was saying I wouldn't just say the rod of men is only captivity, is mainly captivity, but there's other.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that either.
Okay, cool. Oh, if
I was asking. Yeah, I was asking you: is the Israelites going under captivity to the heathen? Is that an example of God's chastisement to the children of Israel? Right. So we see not Hezekiah,
Manasseh.
and different sons of who was the last king?
Zedekiah.
Zedekiah is who I was trying to say. We see Zedekiah get his eyes put out by the Babylonians. His sons are slain and his women are made as prostitutes or concubines, right? Would you say that he's receiving the rod of chastisement?
Yes, he's receiving one form of it, yes, but there's many forms of the rod of chastisement. And why I say that, hold on real quick. The reason why I say that is you read a bunch of times where the Most High raised up heathen nations to go to war against Israel, but we never went in captivity. They still got the rod of men, but they never went to captivity. So being hit by the rod of men is not only captivity.
Yeah, but the verse 14 and
doesn't say captivity.
And 2 Samuel chapter 7 isn't specific to what type of rod of chastisement is going to be. Because remember, your premise is this is talking solely about Solomon.
Yes, perfect. So, that's my whole point. So
right.
The Most
so
High,
if it's yeah, let me say this real quick. So if this is talking solely about Solomon, you would have to show a distinction between what Solomon received and what the other kings after him received in this verse.
Why would I have to show a distinction when I just showed you clearly that the Most High raised up an adversary against Solomon? Solomon was literally called God's son. Solomon was the one to build God's kingdom. He fits the whole entire prophecy of 2 Samuel chapter 7. The only thing that you're having a problem with is that Solomon had similar punishments as the other kings. I don't see why I have to show that distinction.
No. What I'm saying is verse 14 is very specific that for his iniquity, there is going to be a chastisement. And that is the rod of men. And with the stripes of the children of men, right? The stripes of the children of men would mean there's affliction that's happening, right?
It says whatever it is, whatever you want to interpret is we still showing that there's an adversary against Solomon.
Yes, but there's also an affliction that comes with that.
That's an interpretation.
Well, let's look at what stripes means. What does that mean in 2 Samuel 7:14?
We can go into Samuel. We get the definition. It says stroke, blaze, disease, mark, stroke, wound, stroke, or mark.
So a wound.
It could be wound, yes.
What you would have to show me is during Solomon's rule, where was he wounded by his adversary? Where was that?
We know that the Most High brought up an adversary against Solomon. It doesn't say what he did, but we know the Most High gave him some type of punishment.
No, listen. Verse 14 tells you that there's a wound that is sustained. What is the wound that is sustained by this Edomitic adversary coming against Solomon? What is the wound that Solomon sustained?
It doesn't tell you it's a wound. You're picking that one to fit your narrative. If I wanted to do the same thing, I could say when it says plague, and I can say that's Hezekiah, because Hezekiah got a plague put on him. But you're just picking that narrative to fit. But at the end of the day, whether it's a stroke, a plague, a disease, a mark, it's talking about chastisement to a person, right? And we look at 2 Samuel 7, 2 Samuel 7. It says this person is going to have to build a temple, and this person is called God's son. So that same person would also get, chastised by God. So it's not a bunch of kings that built the temple of God. It's only one king that built the temple, one king that built the temple of God, and that's Solomon during this time period. And Solomon, the one that built the temple, he also was chastised by God. When you read 1 Kings 11, God got mad at him for worshiping other gods. So he said, just for that, I'm chastising you. I'm raising up these two adversaries against you. So you can't try to take that one word and twist it, right? Because Jesus did not build the temple. He just didn't.
But I'm not.
Just to add on,
Wait,
I got you. Just to add, if I may. If you want to hold me to, Mama, I'm sorry. If you want to hold me to the stroke or to the mark, right? Then I will have to hold you to the part where it says, if he commits iniquity, then he will be punished. The narrative of, I call him JC, I don't know if it's disrespectful to you, but if JC in the New Testament did not commit iniquity, he should not be getting punished. I will hold you to that.
Yeah. So again, if you go with the idea that forever is contingent upon is relative, it's not meaning what it says forever, the same logic can be applied. The punishment that Christ receives is put in play because of these things, just like the blood shall not depart from the house of David is played in part because of what David did. That enacted that punishment. Blood not departing from the house of David, right? So what I'm saying is verse 14 in 2 Samuel chapter 7, it tells you that there's a wound that's afflicted. Look, whether I say wound, stroke, plague, sore, whatever it may be, we know that this is talking about something, right? Whether you use it in its figurative usage or literal, something is sustained. There is something that Solomon suffers because this rod of correction has been risen up. I'm asking you to show me what is the affliction, what is the suffering that happened? What did he suffer from this adversary being risen up against him?
I'll read it for you in 1 Kings, and then I wanna pull which I call it a precept, and I want to ask you about that precept after I read this. In 1 Kings 11, let me go to here real fast. This is the right here, verse 25. And I'll read verse 23. And God stirred up another adversary, Rezin, the son of Elida, which fled from his lord Hadadezer, king of Zobab. And he gathered men unto him and became captain over a band when David slew them of Zobah. And when they went to Damascus and dwelt therein and reigned in Damascus. And he was adversary to Israel all the days of Solomon, besides the mischief that Hadad did. And he abhorred Israel and reigned over Syria. So this adversary that God did all the life of Solomon, because he sinned, this person wreaked havoc. He abhorred Israel. He wreaked havoc in Solomon's life. And this is because Solomon sinned. All you got to go is right up here to verse 9. And the Lord was angry with Solomon because his heart was turned from the Lord God of Israel, which he had appeared unto him twice, and had commanded him concerning this thing, that he should not go after the gods But he kept not which the Lord commanded him. Wherefore the Lord said unto Solomon, for as much as this is done, thou hast not kept my covenant and my statutes, which I have commanded thee, I will surely rid the kingdom from thee and give it to thy servant. So you see, God was angry with Solomon because he sinned. That's 2 Samuel 7. If you sin, I'm going to chasten you. And how did God chasten him? He rid the kingdom out of his hand, and he raised up two adversaries to cause horror to Solomon all his days. That's how Solomon was chastened. And I want to read this verse, and then you can have it. And this is 1 Chronicles 28. I'm going to ask you, do you believe this? Do you believe these words? 2 Chronicles 28, verse.
5.
Excuse me, not First Chronicles. Not Second Chronicles. First Chronicles. First Chronicles 28, and I'm gonna start at verse 2. The reason I want to start at verse 2 because it's the context. Then David stood up upon his feet and said, hear me, my brethren, and my people. As for me, I had in my heart to build an house of the rest of the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and for the footstool of our God, which he had made ready for the building. But God said unto me, thou shalt not build an house for my name, because thou hast been a man of war, which hast shed blood. Howbeit the Lord God of Israel chose me before all the house of my father to be king over Israel forever. For he hath chosen Judah to be the ruler. And the house of Judah, the house of my father, among the sons of my father, he liked me to make me king over all Israel. And of all my sons, so he pointed out all his sons, for the Lord hath given me many, he had chose Solomon, my son, to sit upon the throne of the kingdom of the Lord of Israel. And he said unto me, Solomon thy son, he shall build my house and my courts, for I have chosen him to be my son, and I will be his father. Moreover, I will establish his kingdom forever, if he be consent and do my commandments and my judgments as it is this day. In Chronicles 28, verses 6 and 7, where did God tell David that?
You said where did he already tell him that? He told him that in 2 Samuel.
So isn't David telling you 2 Samuel 7 is about Solomon, his son?
Yeah, he's telling you that Solomon is the one who will be building the temple, and he's the one who will be called God's son.
So
Perfect.
Yeah, I never disagreed that Solomon is a point of discussion in there. The argument that I'm making is you cannot make this solely Solomon because of other contexts that are found in the chapter in 2 Samuel. Solomon is not the only. Yeah, real quick. Solomon is not the only one that sat as king over Israel. And Solomon is not the only one that received chastisement from God.
But he's the
So
only one
so of course Solomon is going to be called the son of God because he's the son of David. Would you say, let me ask you something. Was King Asa, was he a son of God?
Yes, but he did not build the temple of the Lord.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. But was he the son of God? Yes. That is something else that matches with him. But your argument is this is solely Solomon. And my argument from a messianic standpoint is there are many kings that fit this description, but there's also another that descends from the house of David who also would be building a temple.
I want to help you out a little bit, right? The argument you make, you got to stop saying many kings. If you want to try to make this dual application, you could, because this context is talking about a person, a descendant of David that builds the temple. It's only two descendants of David that built a temple: Solomon and Zerubbabel. And some people don't say Zerubbabel was a king. So you could either say this is about Solomon and Zerubbabel, and in the future Jesus is going to build another temple, so you add in Jesus in there. Cool, whatever you want to do with that. But 2 Samuel 7 is about a specific person that builds the temple. And King David lets us know it's about Solomon. If you want to add dual fulfillment in that, play with it how you want. Add Zerubbabel and you can add Jesus later. That's cool. But when the conversation first started, you should have said, I agree that's about Solomon. That's what you should have said. You said, no, it wasn't about Solomon. Now you're going back to say, no, it is
No, no,
about
no, no, no. I didn't say it wasn't. No, remember the conversation. I said, are you saying that this is solely Solomon? He's the fulfillment of this, and this is about him. That's what I asked. I asked him, is his position that this is solely about Solomon? The same thing I asked Old Testament only believers concerning Joshua. Do you believe Joshua is the sole purpose of Deuteronomy 18 is to testify of what Joshua should do? And they say yes. That's what I was confirming with my question with 12.
Okay, so if you was my bad, because it seemed like it was something else. So if we misunderstood you or if you misspoke, either way, my apologies, because I guess we have two different arguments now.
Hey,
We was even arguing the same thing.
real quick, hey,
Yeah, because
Shalom to the room. Shalom. Yabashim Yashabrakata to the Hakim Bashimata to the sisters. Shalom. Just real quick, let me just add just a real quick point, and I'm gonna yield and ask you got it back. Gadar, you would agree that when you're dealing with prophecy, for it to completely match one particular person, because it seems like that's where the kind of, from just when I came into the room, the course of the conversation is pointing to, right? So you went to Second Chronicles. Let me see, where did you go? First Chronicles 28. And when you read the 7th verse, I think that was the last verse you stopped at. Would you say that that part was did King Solomon break any of God's commandments? Because it said that he be constant to do my
yes, he did.
commandments and my judgment. So would this part apply to him? Then
Yes.
dealing with that hold on a second, dealing with the establishment of his kingdom forever,
Yeah,
like this linking to him directly.
yes. Solomon, that does apply to Solomon, and Solomon broke God's commandment, so that's why it was taken from him. And when you go to 2 Samuel 7, it says the same thing. What a lot of people look over is in 2 Samuel 7 that the reason that David got the kingdom forever is because Solomon sinned. And right, so let's go read that real fast. 2 Samuel 7, verse 12. It says, and when the days are fulfilled, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers. I will set up thy seed after thee, which shall proceed out of thy bowels. I will establish his kingdom. He shall build an house for my name. I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be his father. He shall be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men and with the stripes of the children of men. But my mercy shall not depart far away from him, as I took it from Saul, whom I put away before thee, and thine house and thy kingdom shall be established forever. So when it says in thine house and thine kingdom, he's talking to David. So remember, this whole conversation is to David. So he tells David, yo, this son that comes out of your bowel, he's going to be established forever. But if he sin, I'm going to punish him, but I'm going to have mercy, and your kingdom and your throne is going to be established forever, David. So because Solomon sinned, David's throne is established forever. But if Solomon would not have sinned, it would not be the throne of David. It would be the throne of Solomon. So that's the mercy God had. But that's the
I think you're misunderstanding that whole scripture, because it doesn't even make any sense that that's still dealing with David when you can see that it links right directly to King Solomon, right next to him, right? We could okay, when we go to, you've read Psalms 89 before, dealing with the same verbiage.
yeah. But before,
Of course.
but I want
Okay,
I want to say this.
no, that's
Okay.
no. The only reason why I bring that out is because, again, when you see the transition, the change in the shift of rulership, right, going from David to King Solomon, it's just weird how you're equating it back to King. I get like what the narrative of what you're trying to bring forth with that, right? Dealing with the fact that that rulership, right, will stay in Judah and will be under the guides of the rulership of King David. I get that, but again, we both know that King David didn't rule forever, right? It was given to his son King Solomon, who basically continued and held the scepter after that, right? So
And then it
I think
continued.
right, right, and we can see, and Gadar, we can definitely go into this conversation dealing in the law and in the prophets, dealing with future prophecy that goes past King Solomon, right? Dealing with this same scepter and rulership. All right. So again, how would you, right, reconcile those prophecies that come to fruition. We can go into a couple of examples if we need to, but I don't want to take the build from Ash because he's already going into it. I just wanted to add that there real quick because again, if you're going to hold the narrative that it's 100%, is dealing with King Solomon, right? And I'm only saying this based on the conversation I'm having with you right now, right? You have to reconcile First Chronicles, the 28th chapter, the 7th verse, that part, because that wasn't King Solomon didn't follow that too, because it said it constantly follow the commandments and judgment. And we can see where that didn't happen in the scriptures. So
That's the whole point. The whole point is that he didn't constantly keep the commandments. That's why 2 Samuel chapter 7 verse 14 contains to David. First Chronicles is just elaborating a little bit more
yeah, but how
detail
can you
of
go back to
second.
David though? I mean, that's it, again.
I mean,
This is dealing with
okay,
King David is dead and gone, right? And even in Second Samuel's, when you guys were just reading, right, where Godal just read, just dealing with the fact that when he's dead, gone, living with the father, that it's going to continue with his seed, right? It didn't say anything about him himself continuing that. All right. I get the narrative. I get the idea of that promise that the Most High made with King David, and the fact that again that the rulership within the nation would not depart from Judah, right? So I get that part. But for you guys to argue that it went back to King David, it doesn't make any sense. Just even reading the text in its plain form. We don't have to go into any crazy dark sayings here or any parable that we don't understand to try to figure this out. But anyways, y'all brothers got it. I'm listening.
Can I ask a clarifying question real quick, Adal, that might maybe open it up a little bit?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not joining the conversation. I'm more asking a clarifying question, not of you, but of Ash, to see maybe if this will help out a little bit.
Before you ask Ash, can I address what Ari just said?
All right, go ahead. Yeah, you got it, bro. Yeah.
Because in 2 Samuel 7, we got. I'm gonna read this. I want you to walk with me through this and read this, right, Ari, and then we can go right. In verse 12, when thy days be fulfilled, you agree that God is talking to David right there, right?
I'm with you. Yeah. Hold on a second. Let's read up a little bit. Let's go up. Let me see.
Up is just about when King David was going to build the ark. Nathan told him to go do it. God sent Nathan to tell David, don't do it. And then we get to verse 12.
Okay. Let's go. Just go ahead. Yes. Read verse 12 if you don't mind. I'm trying to pull it up. Okay. I want to have it in front of my eyes.
Right. It
go
says,
ahead.
when thy days be fulfilled, God is talking to David. When thy days be fulfilled, and thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, I will set up thy seed after thee, which shall proceed out of thy bowels. I will establish his kingdom. I'm pointing out that God is directly talking to David here, right? Verse 13. He shall build an house for my name. I will establish his kingdom forever. I will be his father. He shall be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men and with the stripes of the children of men. But my mercy shall not depart away from him as I took it from Saul. Because when he took it from Saul, it left Saul. Saul is a Benjamite, and it went to David, and David is a Judite, whom I put away before thee, before David. The thee is talking about David. In thine house, when God says thine house, isn't he talking to David?
Yeah, but again, that doesn't mean that David is going to be in rulership himself.
No,
all right?
No. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm not saying David's
Okay,
going to be
so
in
what
rulership.
are you trying to allude
I'm
to? That's what
saying,
I'm trying to figure out. What's the point here?
if Solomon would not have sinned, it would be known as the throne of Solomon, the kingdom of Solomon. But since Solomon did sin, that's why it's called the throne of David, the kingdom of David, the tabernacle of David.
No, that's not why.
No,
It's
that's
because
not
it's
why.
been
Hey, let me,
It's
if I may,
past
let
the.
me,
Go ahead, priest.
Go ahead.
Let
let me ask my question
hold
because
on.
I think maybe it might help. Hopefully, it doesn't hurt the conversation. Hopefully, it helps rather than hurts the conversation. So, the clarifying question I have for Ash, and it might be a little bit long, so just follow along, right? I think the issue that we're having is we're having an issue of whether or not prophecy in 2 Samuel chapter 12 is Solomon specific as opposed to these curses that are written in 2 Samuel chapter 7 happening to Solomon, yes, in the immediate context, but also happening to other sons of David in that same line later
Right.
on. For example, you would have Hezekiah, who the Most High's mercy would not depart from. Whereas you would have other kings of that line who the Most High's mercy would depart from when they departed from God's laws. So, Ashai, correct me if I'm wrong, because now I'm going to be addressing Gadal. What I think Ashai is saying, and if I'm wrong, Ashai, let me know, is that you're saying the immediate context that Solomon is talking about Solomon, but you see these same curses falling upon other sons of David later on, whether the Most High's spirit dwells with men, or whether it departs from them, depending on their actions. You see it happening to all of them. So I guess what the brother's trying to say to you is, why are you just pigeonholing it to Solomon alone when we see this pattern happening to all the sons of David? Am I misquoting you, Ashaya?
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying this is not specific to Solomon. Like, as far as this is the only, when Solomon goes through this will no longer happen. I think this prophecy is talking about Solomon and all to come after Solomon, right? Because this is the seed of David continuing. This is his house, his throne continuing. The throne came from David to Saul, and then the throne came from Saul onto his sons, and so on and so forth. That is the throne of David being passed down from generation to generation.
Okay, I have a
You have
question. Did
examples.
God?
I think the problem.
Hold on. Let Ash finish.
Brother, 2 seconds.
Hold on 1 second. Ash, finish your point, King. Then D, you can
Oh, yeah.
take over.
Oh, my mic tripping. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Go ahead, King.
All right. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna land with this. That what Priest just said is the point I'm making. You see examples, and I use these examples. You see examples of kings that come after Solomon that mercy was imputed upon, that were righteous, who repented and returned to the Lord. And then you see men that were afflicted because of their disobedience. Hezekiah himself was afflicted with sickness. Guess what? You can take that word stripe found in 2 Samuel 7:14 and apply that to that sickness. That is a plague, a stripe, right? An affliction that was on Hezekiah, and then Hezekiah turned to the Lord, and the Lord healed him. So we see examples of this all throughout this kingdom that was passed on from David, which is why it's called the throne of David. Solomon did not have the throne before David. David did. So that's my point. This is not, you can't make this exclusive to Solomon. And that's the point I'm making.
But the problem you're having, and I'm my bad too, I'm gonna let you go. The problem you're having is, again, I already said the thing about Hezekiah. 2 Samuel 7 is talking about the son of David that built the temple. Hezekiah did not build the temple. So that's how we know Hezekiah is eliminated from this being talked about him.
I believe Christ did.
That's what that's what I had moved the conversation forward. I said, if you're gonna try to make it do, I said I'm gonna help you out. You could either say it's about Solomon and Zerubbabel and future Jesus, because we know Solomon and Zerubbabel built the temple. Cool, if you want to apply it that way, however you want to interpret it, but you cannot say it's about all the sons of David, because all the sons of David did not build the temple of the Lord. And King David himself lets us know that 2 Samuel 7 is about Solomon. Like, and you know, that's it. So, but we can't bring all the other sons in here because they didn't build the temple.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. I don't think they have to fit every single description, because remember, if he keeps the command of the Lord, the throne is established forever. But if he doesn't, he's afflicted. So one or two things are going to happen. Solomon did not continue in the word of the Lord. He transgressed. So where does the prophecy of concerning his throne is established forever for being obedient come into fruition? I believe that comes into fruition with Christ. That is why we're able to teach Christ with this position. The burden that you have is showing us how Christ cannot be taught through this position. And I think that's what the brother 12 was attempting to do by making this exclusive to Solomon. I'm saying you can't make it exclusive to Solomon.
So let's test your logic then.
Hey,
so let's test your logic.
Real quick. Hold on. Let 12 speak. I know you guys are kind of like riding together, but let's let the room kind of move a little bit. Let 12 speak, then you can come back, Adol, okay?
But let me just
All
ask
right.
this one question, then I'm out the way because I got to take care of my
You
baby.
don't have to leave though, but go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Because I want to test his logic. Zerubbabel built the temple. He's a son of David. Can you show me where Zerubbabel sinned? Because if Zerubbabel didn't sin, his throne would have to be established forever, according to your logic.
It was through Christ.
Oh my!
That's
All
the
right.
point.
All right.
Hey, real quick, 12, go ahead. And I wanted to bring out a scripture real quick, and I want to see how Godal looks at this and 12 based on the conversation we're having. But go ahead, 12, go ahead. You got the floor.
I mean, I feel like I already proved everything I wanted to prove. I feel like the other brother had a good, strong argument. I feel like we could move on. It's not that big of a deal to me. I still don't see how this is really proving Christ. So if y'all want to, we can move on, or if you want to continue asking questions, but I'll kind of land, to be honest.
Okay, cool. Hassan, real quick, we'll be right with you. Hey, make sure you guys are following the platform, Sons of Thunders, Israelites. We appreciate the brothers for opening up the space and allowing us to be able to speak. Great topic, great conversation. And again, we appreciate the guest on stage, the prolific, and the brother, the 12. All right. Make sure you guys are sharing the space, ping people to the room. If you in the audience, you disagree with any point on either side, make sure you come up to the stage and have the build. All right. Brothers are just chilling and just having a conversation. All right, so I want to bring out a quick scripture, and I'm going to yield to the other brothers that want to add to it. Just based on the points that we're bringing out right now, how does this work with you guys? All right, so I know I did mention it, but I didn't bring it out. I'm going to read a scripture. It says, Psalms 89 and 20 says, I have found David my servant, with my holy oil have I anointed him, with whom my hands shall establish, my arm also shall strengthen him. It says, the enemy shall not exact upon him, nor the sons of wickedness afflict him. And I will it says that I'll beat down his foes before his face and plague them that hate him. But my faithfulness and my mercy shall be with him, and my name shall his horn be exalted. I will set his hand also in the sea, and his right hand in the rivers. He shall cry unto me, thou art my father, my God, and the rock of my salvation. Also, I will make him my firstborn, higher than the kings of the earth. Real quick, Gadol. Gadol, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Everything I just read so far, is that dealing with King David himself? Will he be able to fulfill every part of what I just read himself? I can read wherever point you want me to touch on again.
This psalm is talking about David and his sons.
Okay. Now, these sons, would that include King Solomon and other kings after them?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to see where you coming from, but from that. But to the last point that you were bringing out in we were talking about in Second Samuel, just dealing again with that whole uh, throne being transferred over. I mean, we can see in the scripture. I think if you read in First King, the second chapter, where it talks about now the days of David drew nigh that he should die, and he charged Solomon his son. Right. Basically, he gave him the charge to take over um, rulership. All right. So, and again, after that, we can see there were other kings that came, and I get the whole establishing the house of David factor of it, dealing with the promises the Most High gave to to King David. But again, for us to make this argument where when it's dealing with future prophecies that has to do with future rulership within the nation of Israel, it's primarily going back to David, and it's David himself, because that's the arguments I hear from a lot of my OT brothers.
No
Like
one's making
that's
that
what you guys
argument on
do.
stage right now, though.
Yeah, but you were kind of alluding to that point earlier. Were you or were you
No, he dude asked me, and I said, I'm split between whether it's literal David or the sons of David. I can see both viewpoints, but in 2 Samuel 7, I was not making the argument that this is David himself. The argument I was making is according to 2 Samuel 7, verse 15. But my mercy shall not depart from him, as I took it away from Saul, whom I put away before thee, but thine house and thine kingdom shall be established forever. So God is telling David, if your son sins, I'm not going to blot him out from before me like I did Solomon, like I did Saul. I'm going to have mercy upon him, and David, it's going to be your kingdom and your throne that's established forever. That's literally what it says. I'm going to read it again. I'm going to read it slow. Verse 14, I will be his father. He shall be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men and with the stripes of the children of men. But my mercy shall not depart away from him, as I took it away from Saul, whom I put away before thee. And thine house and thy kingdom shall be established forever before thee, and thy throne shall be established forever.
Right.
He literally just tells David, if your son sins, I'm going to have mercy upon him by establishing your throne and your thing forever. That's literally what it
Yeah, and
says.
that's what we're saying. We're teaching that that's through his lineage. The lineage of David
Right.
does not cease;
What is
it
the argument?
continues through Saul. I mean, through Solomon, and from Solomon to his sons, and so on and so forth. That's the whole point, brother. And what
Right.
we're
That's
saying
all
is
we're saying, man.
this eventually leads to a man named Zerubbabel, and Zerubbabel is a descendant of David who
The,
built a temple.
but
And then this lineage eventually um leads to Christ, the man we call Christ, right? That's
I
what we're
didn't.
saying. So we can read where the prophecy is specific to David's house, but you can't make it temporal to this is Solomon, and then after Solomon dies, that prophecy is fulfilled. It's no longer the promise that his David's house shall be established forever is no longer needed to come into fruition. No, it continues to happen because he has sons. That's our point.
I mean, I didn't want to bring this argument up, but you can't prove that JC or Christ comes from Zerubbabel.
but before we go into that, I want to say this because you changing the argument now, because
Wait, how am I changing the
no one
argument?
because no one said that on it. Well, I didn't say it, and I don't think the other brother said it, that David lineage would stop.
No.
The
I
argument
didn't
was
say that y'all
who,
said that. That's what I'm saying.
but no, but what?
I'm,
Hold on, let me say this right. What the argument was who was this person in 2 Samuel 7 that builds the temple of the Most High, that comes from David bowels, and that got a promise for his kingdom to be forever if he doesn't sin. King David said it was about Solomon. And the part where it goes on through David, that's based on Solomon sinning. So Solomon would have to be that person to come from David's bowels. He would have to sin in order for it to get established through David's throne. So that's what I'm saying. It's not even at this point. If you agree that it was Solomon in the original context, but you believe in further dual fulfillment, that's a different argument. But let's just shake hands right here and agree that 2 Samuel 7 in the original context is about Solomon, but you also believe in the future is about other people. We could shake there. Like
so
that is that simple.
yeah, I understand, but that's where I'm saying I disagree. I don't agree that the kingdom being established in David's house forever is contingent upon Solomon sinning. That I don't think that's how it reads at all. I think what's being promised is that the kingdom will be established through David's lineage, regardless. Like if Solomon sins, the Most High God is gonna have mercy on him for the purpose that the kingdom may be continued through the lineage of David. That's what I think that the point that this verse is making. You see what I'm saying? So
Right.
that's what I'm saying.
Right. To establish the promises that was given to David. Right. And that's what even Psalms 89, right, where I was reading from, if you keep reading down, it dives deeper into that.
Think about it.
Right.
All right, think about it. That's why the Most High didn't kill David.
Right.
Why? So that his promise may be established. The point is the kingdom is supposed to come through David's loins, through his lineage.
Uh,
So
We could just
if I kill King David, how's that happening?
we could just
How
split
was
here.
Solomon how was
We could just
Solomon even being born?
we could just split hairs here because I think it's pointless. You have your interpretation. Does King David directly say that that's about Solomon? Yes or no?
King David says this is Solomon. This is who's gonna do this. He's gonna be the one that builds
Okay,
the
so
temple.
that's the end of the discussion. We can split hairs there. However you see it further in your interpretation, you can have your interpretation. I don't care to debate your interpretation. The Bible says word for word from King David's mouth that is about Solomon. That's it, and that's where I'm gonna go with what the Bible say, book, chapter, verse. We can go to the next topic, bro.
Yeah, but
Man,
I understand your point, but that the Bible's not saying that this prophecy is exclusive to Solomon. No, because the kingdom has to continue through David. If it's temporal to Solomon, that means it stops. But this promise ended when Solomon died, and we don't see that. So that's my point. And that scripture says that because it records the lineage of David continuing.
What is the
Hey,
reason?
yo, real quick. Let me real quick, and I'm gonna yield back. Let me continue reading where I stopped at, man. This is crazy. All right, so Psalms 89. I'm gonna go to verse 28. It says again, going back to the mercy thing, right? What is that? Exodus 33, I believe it is. I will have mercy on whom I choose to have mercy upon. Again, it's not just dealing with just one person. All right, it says, my mercy will I keep for him forevermore, and my covenant, right, going back to the promises, shall stand fast with him. His seed also will I make to endure forever, and his throne as the days of heaven. How will this happen if it's not through his seed? I mean, it says, if his children forsake my law and walk not in my judgment, if they break my statutes and keep not my commandments, this is going back to hash point, then will I visit them. It said, visit their transgression with the rod and their iniquity with stripes. We know that not all kings after King Solomon was evil. Not all of them. All right. Some of them were. And that's where this would apply to them. Right? But the righteous ones were blessed, right? It says, nevertheless, my loving kindness will I not utterly take from him, nor suffer my faithfulness to fail. My covenant will I not break, nor alter the things that is gone out of my lips. Before the time of King David, there were prophecies to come, right, of his rulership, right? Of that scepter not departing from Judah, going back to Jacob, Genesis 49, right? These were things that were, and before that, they were prophesied in a certain line of the children of Israel, where this promises will come from, right? It says, verse 35, once have I sworn by my holiness that I will not lie unto David. And again, going back to the promises that was established, even though David fell and did wickedness, the Most High didn't kill him. He had mercy on him, because certain prophecies that were spoken of about dealing with the rulership of his rulership before him shall establish and stand, right? If it doesn't come to fruition, then God is a liar. That's the whole point. All right, we can see that this is dealing with his seed, even dealing with the chastising too, part of it. But anyways, I yield. Gadol, man, it's always a pleasure, having you on stage, man.
Hey,
I
real
love the
quick.
scholarship. But go ahead, priest.
No, the brother, the Hebrew, he wanted to jump in on something, and he been real quiet, King. So we sorry about that. You can jump in
It's
there.
all good. I was just listening back to the back and forth, but I just
Yeah.
wanted to make the point in Second Samuel 7. What is the reason why this king would get struck or punished? I think if we can focus on that point, it says if he commits iniquity, then he will be punished. So according to the narrative of I call it the Christian Testament, JC didn't commit any iniquity, so he should not have been punished if this is about him. But we see here in Second Samuel 7, it only says, if he commits iniquity, then will I punish him. So we can't even, apply that to JC if we were going to try to, because he doesn't fit that immediate context. And I think the point that we're making is it's about a king that builds the temple that the ark of the Most High can dwell in. That's the point that we're making. Solomon is the one who did that. Solomon got punished. Adversaries risen up to him. I think we showed that as well. I'm just, David literally says that it's about Solomon. So I just still don't understand the disagreement, the back and forth.
All
But
right,
I'll land
so
right
how do
there.
we, no problem. So how do we reconcile certain prophecy, like Ezekiel, the 34th chapter? All the prophecies just dealing with the kingdom to come. How do you reconcile that dealing with King Solomon? So is that going to be King Solomon? Being who's ruling now? King Solomon, King David. Who's that applying to? The Hebrew?
So yeah,
Dealing with future prophet.
like Prolific was saying, we're not arguing the stance of whether it's um David's seed or David the man. I believe it, could be David's seed. I don't have a problem with it being David's seed when it says David. I think going to Ezekiel 34, Ezekiel 37, adds to our point that David's throne was established forever. It was David's throne that was set up after as an eternal throne. But just because it says David, appreciate that, bro. Thank you.
Love you, brother.
All right, have a good one.
Your brother.
All right, no problem. All right. But yeah, so Salaki, I had to get off the whip. When it says David, like in Ezekiel 37 and Ezekiel 34, that's just David's lineage that I believe is going to be set up in his throne in his kingdom. Going back to 2 Samuel 7, I think the point that Prolific is making, Godal is making, that if Solomon had not sinned, we would see the throne of Solomon prophetically being established forever. It would not say David, but the Most High obviously took that opportunity away from Solomon. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Well, but that's the thing. The throne of Solomon is the throne of David. It was passed on from David to Solomon and passed down to more sons of David. That's what I'm saying. I don't see it as a, like, I understand what the point that y'all making, but I don't see where the scripture is denoting that it would be called the throne of Solomon and attributed to Solomon forever if he continues to keep the charge of the Lord. But if he does not keep the charge of the Lord, it'll return to you and be attributed to you. I don't see that in this verse.
Yeah,
That sounds like an interpretation to me.
real
Hey,
quick.
sorry, let's do it.
Listen, hey, Gadal, and you guys, the Hebrew, you guys are too vague in your answers too, man. Right? It's like you're making it too easy for yourself. Okay, well, we're not arguing that it's either David or King Solomon or his seed. Who's that seed? That's what we want you guys to show us. Like, who's that person exactly? Like all this vague, that to me is just like an easy way out, a cap out to me. You know what I mean? That's what we want you to get into. Who's that seed dealing with? If you even agree that could be that.
All right, so I'll answer that question directly for you, and I'm gonna do this exercise real fast just for the sake of the room. In 2 Samuel 7, it says, "When thy days be fulfilled," it's talking to David, "thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, and I will set up thy seed after thee, which shall proceed out of thy bowels. I will establish his kingdom. He shall build an house for my name." This seed that builds the house of the name of the Most High is Solomon. Solomon built built the house for the name of the Lord. How we know that? If we go up to verse 1, this is the context of this chapter. "And it came to pass, when the king sat in his house, the Lord had given him rest from about all his enemies, that the king said unto Nathan the prophet, See now, I dwell in the house of cedar, but the ark of God dwelleth within curtains." So David was looking at the ark because the temple that's in Jerusalem wasn't built yet. So he's looking at the ark and he wanted to build a house for the ark. Right, verse 3. "And Nathan said to the king, Go, do all that is in thy heart, for the Lord is with thee. And it came to pass that night that the word of the Lord came unto Nathan, saying, Go and tell David my servant, thus saith the Lord, shalt thou build an house for me to dwell in? So we know how the Most High dwells is via the ark that's in the house in the temple in Jerusalem. So this whole context is about the building of the house for the ark that's in Jerusalem. So in verse 13, when it says, "He shall build an house for my name," it's talking about a house so that the ark can dwell in, so that God can dwell amongst the people. And we know 100% it was Solomon that did this. But let's flip it. Let's do this practice. Let's say this is Jesus. And this is where you run into a problem at. Let's say this seed is Jesus. Let's say Jesus, he shall build an house for my name. I will establish the throne of Jesus in Jesus' kingdom forever. I will be his father, he shall be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chasten him. So according to this verse, Jesus didn't sin. So this should be the kingdom in the house of Jesus. Let's go to verse 15. But my mercy, verse 14. I will be his father, he shall be my son, if he commit iniquity. So if Jesus commits iniquity, look what it says. I will chasten him with the rod of men and with the stripes of the children of men. But my mercy shall not depart from Jesus, as I took it away from Saul, whom I put away before thee. In thine house is talking about David. And thine house and thy kingdom shall be established forever, and thy throne shall be established forever. So, if this is Jesus, if Jesus, what are you doing, baby? You want your toy? My bad, yeah, I got my daughter. Here we go. There you go. Here you go. So, if this is Jesus, if Jesus would not have sinned, and we know the narrative Jesus didn't sin according to the narrative, but just for the practice, if Jesus would not have sinned, it would be the kingdom of Jesus, the house of Jesus. But according to verse 14, 15, and 16, if Jesus did sin, it says, thine house, David, would be established forever. So it's about whose throne and kingdom will it be if this person didn't sin or did sin. So when Solomon sinned, Solomon got it taken away from it being the throne of Solomon and the kingdom of Solomon. He sinned, so it went to the throne of David in the kingdom of David. That's what that's talking about. That's how we know that's about Solomon, because that came to pass. It's the throne in the kingdom of David and not Solomon. Is that clear? Like, I don't know how many times we can read this and flip this, bro. King David already said it's about Solomon. We can just go to another point.
Yeah, but you're implying that the kingdom being established through David is contingent upon sin. That's not how that verse reads at all. Verse 14 is not verse 14 is not making the point that if he sins, it will return to being your house or your throne. That's not the point of verse 14. Verse 14 says, I will be his father, and he shall be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men and with the stripes of the children of men. But my mercy shall not depart away from him, as I took it from Saul, whom I put away before thee. So it's telling you, even though if he commits iniquity, I'm not going to take away my mercy from him. Keep reading. And thine house and thy kingdom shall be established forever before thee. Thy throne shall be established forever. Verse 16 is not denoting that this is contingent upon if he commits iniquity. No, this is a promise. Your house is going to be established forever. It's not saying you is going to be attributed to you if he sins. That you're implying that.
Yeah, man, which is fine by me. Like I said, we keep talking in circles at this point. We all said the same thing about 4 or 5 times, but no one addressed the point where it says, if you commit iniquity, then this will happen to you. This happened to JC, and he did not commit iniquity. Can someone address that point? We said about 3 times, no one addressed it.
Yeah, I can address it, but I'm yielding to SOT's view on
I
that.
had to exercise.
One second, let's yield to them. You know what I mean? It's their platform. Ash, how would you guys teach that? I know you got something. And there's a way I can address it, but again, this is not space, so we have to kind of yield to the teachers here, the main teachers here. But Ash or Yahweh, or how would you guys address that question, if y'all don't mind? Yeah, I'm thinking brothers probably stepped away. I know Ash be dealing with the family. Y'all will all be working, but
I see like a little red thing by his name. I think he stepped away. Maybe he's on a phone call. It's like a red hang up button. I don't see no one else's name, so maybe he just stepped away for a second.
right. He probably did. That's what I was saying. He probably stepped away. And I know y'all will all work still, bro. So But when they come back, they will be more than happy to answer that question. But that to me is a very straightforward answer in what we teach at HOY. But I'm not going to go into it because again, this is not our primary space. Now, Mavu, real quick, while we're waiting for the brothers to get back on the mic, 12, let's give Mavu the floor. And I got you, Jinsu. Go ahead, Mavu.
Hey,
You got it.
shalom to the brothers on stage and brothers and sisters in the audience. The question is for Gadol. Just been listening to you for a little bit. I'm curious, what would it take for you to believe in Christ the way that we do? What would you have to see? All right, I'm curious.
You have to prove that he's the Messiah.
Like, what type of proof would you want to see? Like, what exactly? Because, you know, a lot of different brothers can do that in different ways, but what exactly would you want to see?
A true fulfillment of prophecy.
Right. So it has to be in the law and the prophets. The good thing about Gadol is he doesn't say, like, I want to see JC, Jesus Christ. That's one thing I say I like about him when I talk to him, compared to the other OT only. But he would like for you to kind of demonstrate it in the law and the prophet, correct, Gadol?
Yeah, I want to see a true fulfillment. I don't want to see, oh, this is about Jesus, he's going to fulfill it in the future when he comes back. Or I don't want to see that. I want to see a true fulfillment of prophecy. Because when I studied the New Testament, when it comes to prophecy, he's not fulfilling it. It'd be out of context. It'd be out of time periods. He's not fulfilling it. It's just like they interpreting it. I would like to see a true fulfillment of prophecy, and then if he fulfills prophecy, you know, he will be the Messiah.
Khan. What's your take on Isaiah 53? Or not to get too deep into it, but I'm just curious. Who do you see fits that bill?
I believe Isaiah 53 is talking about the prophets.
Yeah. Sometimes it's talking about not to Gadol. Sometimes it's talking about the prophet. It's talking about Israel. It all depends on who you're talking to. But 12, what you got, man? Real quick, then, Marvin, you got it back.
So on Isaiah 53, that is talking about the righteous remnant leaving Babylon in context. If you read from Isaiah chapter 40 through 55, it's all talking about Babylon. 54, 55, still talking about Babylon. 52, 51, 50, still talking about Babylon. I wouldn't take out 53 and say it's not talking about Babylon. And we can prove that book chapter verse within that book and other books surrounding context to Isaiah 53.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, just so that I'm clear, if I'm hearing you correctly, the people who I guess the person who was oppressed and afflicted, you're saying that was Babylon? I just want to get your understanding.
No, that's the righteous remnant. Stop, Seiji. That's the righteous remnant of Israel leaving Babylon, prophesied in Jeremiah chapter 24.
Okay, so it's if I'm understanding you correctly, it's multiple people. It's not just one person.
Correct.
Okay, cool. Why do you see it as multiple people when it is singular? It says he was oppressed. You know, he was. And again, I'm not trying to put you on the hot seat. I'm just curious about your understanding. When I teach, I like to be able to represent other people's perspectives as well.
The servant, all throughout the book of Isaiah, especially between chapters 40 and 55, the servant is Israel. So Isaiah already told you that the servant is plural. Isaiah 53 is poetic language. Israel throughout the whole Bible and Tanakh is referred to as the singular, as a he, a child, the son, the wife. So it's easy to say that Israel is talked about in the singular. I wouldn't. You know what I'm saying?
Got you. And is it your understanding that Israel's soul was, I guess Israel was given as a, what is it? How does it put it? An offering for sin. That was Israel.
The righteous remnant of Israel, coming out of Babylon.
And,
I mean, we can go through it slowly if you want to, real quick. It's up to whoever is in control.
if the brothers allow it, up on stage. I'm just curious how you see that, how you rationalize and reconcile that.
If we have the floor, I'm just waiting for the permission, and we can chop it down.
I think Ash is back.
Yeah, y'all having a build.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say that too. So,
Okay.
I was going to say that too. The brothers are chilling. They're probably tied up, to be honest with you. So you guys can go ahead with the build, and if we need to move a different direction, we can. And real quick, Blade, you there?
Oh yeah.
Hey, Blade, you understand what I did there, though, right, King?
Oh yeah. Of course.
Okay.
You know,
I just want to make sure, King. All praises. All right.
praise.
Khan. But you can always add if you need to. But Mavu, go ahead with your build, and brothers can add if they need to. Go ahead.
Con,
Cool.
Hebrew, you want to take the lead on it? Because I know you kind of break it down a little better, and I'll be your reader. If you did. If not, it don't matter.
Yeah, give me a second, bro. I just got into to work.
All
You're gonna have to take over. I'll step in a second.
All right, cool. I'll start. So if we start at
Hey,
yes, sir.
Y'all definitely got the build. I gotta finish up some work over here, but I definitely I was trying to get to the mic so I could ask a question real quick, just so we can help the bill be clear to both sides, right? So what you're attempting to do is prove that this he that, of course, that Mavu's talking about is the nation of Israel.
No,
But, sorry, go ahead.
It's the righteous remnant of Israel leaving out of Babylon in context. That's who Isaiah 50 is talking about.
So this is Israel.
That's the righteous is specifically the righteous remnant of Israel, not all of Israel. The righteous remnant of Israel.
Okay, so what you're saying is it's multiple
yes.
righteous people, and
yes.
is this something that is only contingent upon that time period of them coming out of Babylon, or is that something that continues? All right, so you're saying it's
fulfilled. I'm trying to show you that it's fulfilled.
Okay. So you're saying it's temporal prophecy
concerning
certain people that came out of Babylon.
Yes, I can show that.
But you do believe in a messianic figure that is prophesied to come.
I believe people coming back. I don't want to know if I want to use the word messianic. I believe Elijah. I'm in the same position as prolific.
Okay, brother. All right. Well, go ahead, Mavu. You got it.
Cool. I'm just getting understanding. Go ahead, bro.
All right. So we agree that this was a scroll. There was no books and chapters, right? So we can start in 52 and 10. That's not a problem.
If you don't mind, I'd like to understand from your perspective. I understand. I get what you're saying at a high level, where you're saying like, okay, this is Babylon. This is the righteous remnant of Israel leaving Babylon. I'm curious about, when was the righteous remnant of Israel made an offering for sin?
Well, I want to kind of go through the whole thing together, to be honest.
Okay, feel free.
So we start at 52 and 10. It says, the Lord had made bare his holy arm in the eyes of all the nations, and all the ends of the earth shall see the salvation of our God. So right here we're reading that the Most High is going to make bare his holy arm. It says, depart ye, go ye out from thence, touch no unclean things, go ye out of the midst of her, be ye clean, that bear the vessels of the Lord. So who is the Most High? Like, the way I talk is kind of like I ask questions as I go along, just make sure we're in agreement. So I want to know who's the Most High telling. Well, why is the Most High telling Israel to come out of the midst of her? Who's the her? Is my question.
Hey, feel free to teach your point. If you like, I'm listening to you. It's exploratory for me. Feel free to teach your point. I'm just going to listen to you until we get to back to Isaiah 53, because that's the main question. I just want to understand your perspective. I'm not trying to put you on a hot seat, good brother. So if you want to teach a point, feel free. I'm just going to listen.
So the her that the Most High is telling Israel to come out of and not to touch any unclean thing is Israel coming out of Babylon. And if you read early in the chapter, I believe it's verse 47.
Isaiah 47.
Yeah, Isaiah 47, I believe verse 14, it refers to Babylon as the lady of queens, or the lady of the chairs, something as her, right? So Isaiah is telling you that the her is Babylon. And when you come out of her, they're going to bring the vessels of the Lord. You can read about that in Ezra chapter 1. When they left Babylon, they got the vessels of the other nations.
They got the vessels of the Most High that was in the original temple, and they brought it back home.
Correct.
That Nebuchadnezzar had took.
Correct.
It was Cyrus who gave the charge to a brother's name. I think his name was like Shimashai or something like that. And then he came back out of Babylon with thousands of people who brought the vessels of the Lord back to Jerusalem. So that's in context.
Yep. So it says, verse 13, I'm still in 52. Behold, my servant shall deal prudently. he shall be exalted and extolled and be very high. This is talking about Israel
So
coming out
stop
of
right there.
captivity with
Stop right
Babylon.
there. Isaiah 48 verse 14. If you want to get that.
Yeah, I got you. All right, take the lead. I'm gonna read for you.
Yeah, Isaiah 48 verse 14 says that the Most High's arm is going to be on the Chaldeans. And then if you go 6 verses later, he says that he's going to redeem his servant Jacob from Babylon. So when he puts his arm on the Chaldeans, he reveals his arm to Israel by redeeming them from Babylon. That's why come out of the midst of her, you that bear the vessels of the Lord, touch no unclean thing. So he already told us the servant that he's going to show his arm to by destroying Babylon, and they're going to be set free. And we know the Most High's arm being shown is synonymous with destruction and basically wiping nations out to give Israel salvation. Right?
Isaiah 48. Go ahead. Isaiah 48,
Go ahead.
14. All ye assemble yourselves and hear, which among them that declare these things, that the Lord had loved him, he will do this pleasure on Babylon, and his arm shall be on the Chaldeans.
I get what y'all saying about the arm. And I get your position. I'm curious on how you reconcile when the righteous remnant of Israel was made an offering for sin. That's what I want to understand in Isaiah 53 and verse 10.
So when you get to Isaiah 51, it's because of the righteous remnant that the Most High brought them out of exile. They're the ones being afflicted. If you want to get that real quick.
Isaiah 51 starts
51, I believe, is 22. 20, start at 20.
at 20.
I can
As
barely hear
wild
you.
bull is in
Yeah,
the net, they
you're
are
breaking
full of
up.
the fury of the Lord, the rebuke of the Lord. Therefore, yes, sir. Hold
You
on.
kind of broke up.
You can hear me? Y'all can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
My bad. My Wi-Fi had cut out.
Now, in
20 again.
context, if you read in context, Isaiah 51, the Most High is talking to the righteous who has the Torah of God in their heart, and they have his words in their mouth. And then he talks to them about what they're going through. Don't be afraid of men. Don't be afraid of the revilings. And he talks about how the captive exile waits, hasteneth that he may be loose. But if you read down, he's going to tell you the condition that they're going through. Go ahead.
20 again. God, y'all didn't hear me. Thy sons have fainted. Thy lie at the heads thy lie at the head of all the streets, as a wild bull in a net. They are full of the fury of the Lord and the rebuke of thy God. Therefore, hear now this: thou afflicted and drunken, but not with wine. Thus saith the Lord thus saith thy Lord, the Lord, and thy God that pleadeth the cause of his people. Behold, I have taken out of thy hand the cup of trembling, even the dregs of the cup of my fury. Thou shalt no more drink it again, but I will put it into the hand of them that afflict thee, which have said to thy soul, bow down, that we may go over. And thou hast laid the Salakia, and thou hast laid the body as the ground and as the street to them that went over.
So he's talking about the righteous in Isaiah 51 and how they're being walked over, hunted down, being destroyed. They're in exile. And the Most High is the one who gave them that cup of trembling. Why did he give them that cup of trembling? It's because the whole nation went off. And so now they're suffering in Babylon, in exile, and they're waiting to be delivered out of Babylon.
Wait, I thought he said the righteous remnant coming out of Babylon became the sacrifice for Israel. Where did you answer that question?
That's the answer to the question.
Wait, but you said
That's
they're
how they got out
suffering
of
in.
Babylon.
You said they're suffering in Babylon. We're asking
Yeah,
you. He said the righteous remnant coming out of Babylon, they are going to be the sacrifice for sin of Israel. If the sacrifice for sin of Israel is to do what sacrifice is be a propitiation, a covering for sin, how does them suffering in Babylon, which is where the Israelites are in captivity for their sin, a sacrifice for their sin? That doesn't make sense to me.
because the Most High brought them out through that righteous remnant. That's why they got brought out, is because of them. So they were made a sacrifice for the nation, and it's through the righteous remnant that the Most High even brought them out of exile.
Can you understand how someone on my side? So I believe in everything, OT and NT, right? Can you understand how that could be confusing to me? Especially we're in the Old Testament. We're talking about a soul being made offering for sin. These series of words are very specific, and it means something very specific in the Old Testament. Can you see how like the explanation that you're giving me might be a little confusing? Like I'm willing to say, okay, cool. I see how you see it. I don't understand it, but okay, that's your interpretation. That's cool. Because that was my question. How do you interpret this? But can you understand how that would be a little confusing? Because I don't necessarily see in your explanation an offering for sin.
Hey, real quick before you answer that question, Elder on stage, Shalom, Elder Torah, Yabashim Yashabrakata. Did you have something you wanted to bring out, Elder? Real quick, Mavu, and we'll come back to your question.
I don't see how he's just saying it's just the righteous in Isaiah 51. I don't see how he's just distinguishing just the righteous, because it's not adding up. Because when you read Isaiah 51 and 17, it says, Awaken, awaken, stand up, O Jerusalem, which have drunk of the hands of the Lord, the cup of his fury. Thou hast drunken the dregs of the cups and the trembling, and wrote them all out. So I don't see how he's just claiming that that's just the righteous.
Start at verse 7. Go to verse 7.
Hold on, brother. That's the whole nation itself.
Hold on. Go to verse 7. He identifies who he's talking to.
Hey, Hebrew, one second. Let's kind of keep it in order, like we've been doing, so the conversation can flow. But go ahead, Elder Slakia.
The whole nation, that's the whole nation itself. It's not just talking about just the righteous. The whole nation that have drunken that affliction for going off, and the righteous suffered. That's why the Lord tells you He's going to bring the king over with you. Some of the righteous brothers didn't do anything, but they still had to deal with the affliction of Israel. But I just don't see how you signal that out as just the righteous going through that.
Yeah, that's not the purpose of a sacrifice for sin. The purpose of a sacrifice for sin is that you may find a place of repentance, and that you're doing, and that your sins may be covered, right? That's the point of a sacrifice for sin. It's a payment. If the sacrifice for sin is taking the punishment when the punishment is warranted by your sin, you can't be your own sacrifice. What you would essentially be saying is the righteous remnant had to become their own sacrifice for themselves. That's not how sacrifice works. So what we're saying is, even in the Old Testament, we see examples of sacrifice for sin where the shedding of blood of another is made, whether it be ram, bullock, or whether it be an example like David's own son who was killed because of something David did, and the Lord had mercy on David. What you're saying is not in the scripture. I don't see that at all.
Okay.
Hey,
No
real
problem.
quick, Hebrew,
No
before
problem.
you go, one second, Hebrew, one second. Hey, listen, guys, if you're gonna come up to the stage, make sure you mute your mic when you come on stage. Also, make sure you following the platform, all right, and keep sharing the space. Go ahead, Hebrew, you got it.
All right, no problem. So if you guys don't agree with our stance, when we read Isaiah 52 and 10, it said in verse 11, the Lord has made bare his holy arm. All the ends of the earth shall see the salvation of our God. So the arm of the Most High got revealed to Israel. The nations see the salvation. They see the salvation. Then it says, depart out of the midst of her, you that bear the vessels of the Lord. What is the her, and who is the her that they're coming out of bearing the vessels of the Most High? So we can keep this in context. Is it not Babylon?
Yeah,
That the Most High's arm got revealed on, and
I
they're
don't think
coming out of her.
I don't think we're disputing that point at all, Hebrew. I don't think we're disputing, Israel leaving Babylon. I don't think that's the I got you there. I understand that.
Okay, so
I got you there.
53 and 1, it says, "Who has believed our report, to whom the arm of the Lord revealed?" Who would the Most High reveal his arm to? In context,
Right. In
52.
context. Yeah, we rocking with you there. I understand that. That part we rocking to you. But when we come down to, where is this verse? What
So
was it, verse
if
10?
you're rocking with me all the way through 52, the arm of the Lord through 51, 53, it still has to be the same context of that time period. It can't switch to 700, 800 years into the future.
Well, we got a reason. That's what we're trying to do, right? I'm trying to let me say this. I'm not trying to put you on the hot seat. I'm really just trying to get your understanding. Um, if that's the case, right? If you're saying that that's righteous Israel, um, when were they put up as an offering for sin? When did that happen?
When
From
they
your
were in, so
Mhm.
they were put up as an offering for sin when they were in Babylon. They were receiving punishment, even though they didn't do anything wrong. And it's through them that the Most High brought the whole nation back out of exile because of what they were going through.
Gotcha. So if I'm understanding you correctly, they were brought into Babylon because they were breaking the commandments, and them
No,
being
that's not what I'm saying.
well, yeah, we said that earlier, right? Because they were going off. That's the reason why they.
No,
This,
the nation was going off. The righteous
Mhm.
remnant was not going off, but they were brought into exile like they were wicked, even though they didn't do anything wrong.
I see what you're doing. You're making a delineation between righteous Israel and everybody else.
Yes.
That's what you're doing, and you're trying
And
to
the
say,
Most High makes that delineation.
I understand, but still, even with that, when did the righteous Israelites? When were they made a like? Even when you come up to verse 9, right, where it says that they made their grave with the wicked, right?
Mhm.
Would you say like that's also the righteous Israel who made their grave with the wicked?
Yes.
Okay, and okay, I think I'm beginning to understand how you see it. I can't say I fully I can't say I agree with you though, because I still don't, this offering part, that's where I'm kind of stuck at. I see how you're explaining it, but I know that like offering for sin is very specific in the OT. Would you agree when we start talking about offerings?
I'll say this, right? And I don't want to. The reason I didn't say this from the beginning because it's gonna sound like a bailout. But
Mm,
we don't read the KJV. We read the Tanakh or the Septuagint. And I'm not going away from the KJV because it's gonna sound like a bailout. But you read it
right.
in translations, it doesn't say he's made an offering for sin. But what was your question again? 'Cause I was just about to answer that. Oh, so when it comes to sacrifice in the OT, you're
Hmm.
saying that the qualifications of this sacrifice in Isaiah 53 has to
Hmm.
be like all the other sacrifices of the Old Testament, right?
Hey, Salakia, just real quick before we move past that, I want to learn that. Can we learn that that does not say in the Hebrew? Because the Septuagint is going to be a Greek translation that I don't
Take
feel is reliable. But can we see that in the Hebrew? We have Isaiah in several Hebrew manuscripts. It doesn't say sin there.
we have to double
I
check.
want to learn that.
I'll have to double check, to be honest with you. I don't even have it in front of me. I was actually
But you
looking
you
at
said that like you know
Yeah,
what I
but you
yeah,
mean?
said it like it was a
I
fact.
misspoke. I misspoke. I'll have to double check that. I was literally just reading the Septuagint. My bad.
Okay, I yield. I
Okay,
yield.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's my fault. That's my fault.
yeah. Because I would. That's why I'm having a hard time following you guys on this right here. Because if you're saying that they're sacrificed for sin for the simple fact that they were also punished in Babylon, ah, that's
I got you. I
you
got you.
gotta prove that with the text. You can infer that,
Yeah, that's fair.
right? But I don't see that in the Bible.
Yeah, that's fair. So continue on that thought, right? Are you saying that in Isaiah 53 that this person or whoever this is, they have to be sacrificed according to the law of sacrifice according to the Old Testament?
They had to be a propitiation for sin. Like if a sacrifice is for sin, it's a sin offering. It's a sin sacrifice.
I got you.
What does the sacrifice for sin look like?
I agree. Can't have no blemishes. I believe a lamb of a male for 1 year or a female, depends if it's trespass or sin. I gotta double check.
Or it doesn't even have to just be a lamb. It could be a turtle
Flour, wheat.
dove, whatever.
Right,
It could
flour,
be
wheat.
it could be a turtle dove, and that we're talking about for sin offering,
Correct.
right? Sin offerings, blood has to be shed. Yes.
No.
So no, so blood does not have to be shed for the remission of sins.
Not
For
in,
sin
not
offering.
according
No.
not according to Leviticus chapter 5. It
Okay,
depends on
Leviticus
if
chapter
you can
5.
afford the
Hold
lamb or
on
not.
1 second. Okay, Leviticus chapter 5. You're going to start at verse 1, correct?
Yeah, if you know where I'm going, then you know what I'm referring to. If you're gonna correct me, no problem. I'm willing to learn.
Yeah, that's why I said you're going to start at verse 1, right? Where are you going to start at?
I think it was 5 and 11, straight to the point.
Yeah, 5 and
Or
11, I
5
figured. Yeah, but you got to start at 1 to establish what that sacrifice is for, okay? What that's even dealing with in context. But anyways, we can
What?
examine that. We can see that that's not dealing with what you're talking about. Okay, you got to start at the very first verse.
That's
Okay.
fine. But my point is
Yeah, I'm talking about
Isaiah
sin
53.
offerings.
I got you. Is Isaiah 53? Does it have to be done exactly according to the Levitical law? Is what I'm asking.
It has to be a shedding of blood, is what I'm saying. In order for sin, in order for you to appease a transgression that you made against God concerning sin, blood has to be shed.
That's not
That's
true.
the point
That's not
that I'm
not
making.
true. That's not true.
All right, well, you
Well,
have to
hey,
educate us on
I would say that's a worthy conversation.
Right.
Let's take a break. Let's take a break. Hey, yo, is Ari here?
Yeah, I'm right here. I want him to demonstrate what he just said, man, to ask
I would
questions.
love to talk
Yeah,
about
because
that.
I don't see that in the conversation of the Bible. I
Yeah,
don't
you
Hey,
see,
see it.
he
look,
tried to Leviticus
didn't
5.
blood have to be shed for David to get the pass that he got?
Right.
Didn't blood have to be shed?
But you're making it an
No, you
absolute.
got to answer that. When you see transgression of sin or sin, when you see transgression against God,
In some
what does he
cases,
require?
he wants bloodshed. In some cases, you can just pray and he'll forgive you. It all
No, the
depends
Bible
on the
says
No,
that
situation.
for
no.
sin, blood must be poured out.
That's not true. Let's go to Leviticus 5. Let's go to
Wait,
Leviticus 5.
wait. Wait. I
That's
understand
not
you might
true.
have a reason it, but don't say that that's not true. That is
No,
true.
I'm saying it, your guys are making it an absolute and saying in every case it
I,
has to be the shedding of
I'm not.
blood. It's
I'm not
not in
saying.
every case.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying the Bible does say that. It says blood must be shed. It does say that.
The New
Okay,
Testament
so
says that, but the Old
that's
Testament does not
the
say that.
Christian Testament though. And we can
No,
find
no,
a
no,
lot
no,
of
no, 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 no.
examples.
The Old Testament says that.
Okay,
It
let's
says
go to it.
for the land to be cleansed. I'm talking to you. I'm with you. For the land to be cleansed, the blood of those must be shed for the land to be cleansed. It don't say that.
If you're shedding other people's blood, then yes.
So the Bible does say that blood must be shed.
If you're shedding
Yeah, but
people's
not for
blood,
sin.
now your blood must be shed. That's specific.
Now,
I mean,
now, does the Bible say that for sin there must be bloodshed?
No, it does not say that for sin there must
I,
be bloodshed because we can
if
find
you give me one moment, I'll show
multiple
you what I'm
examples.
referring to.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
you go to
Leviticus
Leviticus
17.
chapter 5,
Yeah.
you go to
Hold
Leviticus
on.
chapter
Hold
5.
on, brother.
Hold
Have the
on.
conversation.
Hold on, bro.
Damn.
Relax.
Because blood is the atonement of sin.
Right. Yeah, that's Leviticus 17 and 11. And there's a few other scriptures we can go to in the law. But hey, Hebrew, listen, man, we appreciate you as a guest and we do want you to speak, but you got to kind of let brothers bring it out. Then we'll definitely give you space to speak. Okay. All right. But yeah, any brothers want to address that point?
Yeah,
Dealing with the Lord with that?
I will.
Yeah, I think we were about to read it, weren't we?
Yeah, we can see a few examples. Hey, real quick, Blake, you got a scripture to address that?
Leviticus,
Yeah, Leviticus 15.
Leviticus 17:11.
Yep.
Can we read
Right.
that?
Leviticus 15 is a lot.
That might be what I'm referring to. And the only reason I'm having this read is not to say I win. I'm just saying the Bible does say that.
Right. It
Can
says
somebody read that?
right. It's Leviticus 17:11. For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you upon the altar to make an atonement for your souls. For it is
So
the
blood.
go ahead.
Read
For it is the blood that maketh an atonement for the soul.
that's what blood must be shed for atonement. It says that.
While what we're saying is if you read Leviticus chapter 5 before 17, It says there's another way that you can make an atonement for your sins. You're saying this is the only way. We agree that you do blood sacrifices for atonement, but there's another way, is what we're trying to say. So I guess it was just a little
But does
miscommunication.
that disqualify Isaiah 53 then?
I mean, we was talking about the blood sacrifice.
Yeah, but you were saying like Isaiah 53 is not really talking about bloodshed because that's not how you atone for sin. But we just
That's,
read that is.
no, that's not what, that wasn't our stance. I was asking,
Okay,
is
okay.
Isaiah 53, if you're taking it literal, no problem. I'm asking, does it have to be done according to the Levitical law? You just said that blood has to be shed. That wasn't answering my question. But we're just showing you now, just in general, I believe we're not even talking about Isaiah 53 no more. In general, there are ways to atone for your sins without blood. Blood is an option, but it's not the only option, is our stance. Do we agree on that, or we still disagree on that?
Let's say we move in that direction, right? I don't think the brothers. I can understand where you're going in Leviticus 5 and 11. That seems to be like an edge case. If you can't bring the sheep, if you can't bring the ox, if you can't bring the turtle dove,
Right,
and
right.
you can't, right? That times it's an edge case,
Exactly.
right? If you don't got the bread,
Exactly.
the Most High has mercy on you, right? We got it. But as far as, let's say we go down the road you're presenting, right? In Isaiah 53 and verse 10, if it doesn't mean bloodshed, then what does it mean from your standpoint?
We already said that we look at this as metaphoric as suffering, and that's why I keep asking the same question, y'all not answering it directly. Is Isaiah 53 and 10 a literal Levitical sacrifice?
Yeah.
Yes
We said
or
yes.
no? I asked
I
that
think
about
we
4
said yes.
times.
Yeah.
It's
Yes,
hold on, listen. It's calling for the shedding of blood. The
no
reason
problem.
why, hold on, listen. The reason why you went into Babylonian captivity is for your idolatry. What is the
I agree.
punishment for idolatry?
Unaliving. Getting
You
cut off.
must die.
Unaliving. Yes, you
In
must die.
order,
I'm out on TikTok. Yes, you
in
must
order,
die or you get cut off.
in order to
Not or.
yeah, you die. There's no cut off.
There's a
You
scripture that
die.
says if you go into idolatry, you get cut off. It's in the law as well. It says cut him
I,
off.
Wait,
I
the soul
cut him off from the land of the
from
living.
right. The soul of
All
that
right, we
man
can agree
shall
to
be.
die.
Wait,
That's
listen.
fine.
The soul of that man shall be cut off. That's death.
No problem. We can say that. No problem.
So you have to die. That's the shedding of
Utterly
blood.
destroyed.
So
is what it
in
says.
order for a sin unto death to be covered through sacrifice, whose shedding must it be? Is it the person who committed the sin?
Yes,
Yes, no
you
problem.
die.
That's not what
If
I'm
you
asking.
sin, if you sin unto death, Ash, you die.
No problem.
You
I
have to
agree with
die.
y'all. I agree with y'all. What I'm saying is not literal. If it is literal, there's a particular way that you do a sacrifice. You cannot go in your backyard and do a sacrifice. You can't do a sacrifice outside the temple. You can't do the sacrifice outside the land. So if you want to hold this as a literal sacrifice according to the Levitical law, you guys run into a problem as well because JC was not sacrificed according to the law. That's what I was trying to get to.
No,
We
but
both
that's
have
what
a
we're
problem
saying.
with it.
We're not saying that he had to be placed upon an altar and die. What we're
Why
saying
not? You said
is
you're holding
blood
us to the
had to
law.
be listen. Because what's placed upon an altar for the shedding of blood for another's sin is a ram or bullock.
Right.
Christ is not a ram or bullock. He's not a literal ram or bullock. What Christ did, what Christ did was be the example of what it meant to be without spot or blemish, and then he died on behalf of Israel's sin. That's the
So he wasn't
According to
doctrine
that
sacrificed.
prophecy.
According to that prophecy, he died for the sin of Israel. In order for the
it's not a
sin of
literal sacrifice.
Israel, listen, wait. In order for the sin of Israel to be forgiven, somebody gotta die. And that was Christ, according to that prophecy. So is it literally a sacrifice, meaning somebody's death? Yes. But is it literally you take a ram and then you slaughter it upon the altar and then you burn it for a sweet savor unto the Lord? No.
Not. You're just saying that, but if you're saying that this is literally a sacrifice, and the way to do sacrifices according to the law, how come you can now say that he's a exception for a different type of sacrifice? How come you get to
I
say
mean,
that?
because the
No.
sacrifice of I'll take that question. Because the sacrifice of David's firstborn child with Bathsheba, that was not according to the law, but that child died to even up David's sin.
Exactly. And I
So you're
mentioned
saying,
this. You didn't deal with that
We
at
don't
all.
agree. We don't
so
agree
let,
to
let
that.
me ask you this.
You didn't take that.
So can your prayer be a sacrifice to the Most High to forgive you?
Wait, hold on. But we could. I don't mind discussing that, but we right at a. It's very interesting. Like, do you acknowledge what I just said?
I don't think we agree with that.
Yeah, about David specifically, but you can't use that situation with David and drag it to Isaiah 53
Wait,
No,
because
we're
we can
saying
find
that's a
multiple.
precedent showing you that it could be done that way.
yeah,
It
we're
can't.
we're
That
saying
that
we're
Are
it
you
saying a
can be
saying
done.
that?
sacrifice.
That's
We're
not our
saying
argument though.
listen. We're
Hold on,
saying
quick question
no. Wait, but this was
for clarity.
his argument. 12's argument. We're saying a sacrifice is the shedding of blood for sin. Now, the challenge presented to us was, how is Christ that if he's not being sacrificed upon an altar and being sacrificed the way the Levitical law pronounces that you make sin offering? Well, because Christ, for one, isn't a ram or bullock. And for two, Christ's death itself, the shedding of blood, that is a sacrifice. But for what? The sin of Israel. The same way David's son is a sacrifice for sin. Was he sacrificed according to the law, the way a sacrifice for a sin offering should be?
Where does it say David's son was a sacrifice for sin?
Let's go to it. Let's go to the chapter.
Because if I'm remembering right, before David's son even died, God told David his sin was put away.
Yeah, that's a bad argument. The reason why I say that's a bad argument is because the Most High God already knew he would forgive David. Like, just because the Most High God says it before he... Wait, hold on. Are you saying the Most High God didn't know that he was going to forgive David?
I'm not saying anything. I'm asking you, do you have a book?
No, I'm asking you. Are you saying the Most High God is saying he's not... He did not know he was going to forgive David?
If you could show me a book, chapter, verse, I'll agree to it.
Brother, come on now. That's terrible.
It's not terrible. You're making a claim. I want to see a book, chapter, verse that say that.
Go to what is it? 2 Samuel?
Yeah, second Samuel 12, I think.
I believe it's 12.
12.
We just went over it yesterday. 2 Samuel.
Baby dies in 18.
It's chapter 18, right?
2 Samuel verse 18. 2 Samuel 12, verse 18. That's where the baby dies.
Yes, 12. Start at 15. So start at 15. Which is what I believe I want.
No, and I don't want the brothers to feel like we never gonna answer the questions that they added. We just saying, like, that's how we run our rooms. Like, when it's an interesting point, we like to resolve it before we move on.
Khan, you want me to read for you, Ash?
Not 15. Start at Khan, you can start at 12.
All right. This is 2 Samuel 12 and verse 12, and it reads, "For thou didst it secretly, but I will do this thing before all Israel and before the sun."
No. I don't think it's the point starts at I believe it. Hold on, Salakia. Let me pull it up.
What are you looking for?
Yeah, just paraphrase it.
Just right to the point where the Most High God says that he's David's sin is forgiven, and then he pronounces the judgment upon David.
2 Samuel 12 started 10.
Right.
So yeah, so then 10. Okay.
Khan, 2 Samuel 12 and verse 10. "Now therefore the sword shall never depart from thine house, because thou hast despised me, and hast taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be thy wife."
So you see a judgment being pronounced right here. This is before David is even being told that he's forgiven. You see a judgment. The sword will not depart from your house. Keep reading.
Verse 11. Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will raise up evil against thee out of thine own house, and I will take thy wives before thine eyes and give them unto thy neighbor, and he shall lie with thy wives in the sight of this son.
So another punishment being given to David. Read.
For thou didst secretly.
Hold up. What
But
law is that?
Right.
What law says I'm gonna give your wives to another man? The Lord can do whatever he
He
wants.
do whatever the hell he want. Whatever he sees fit for your affliction, for your rod of correction. Keep reading.
God. Verse 12. For thou didst secretly, but I will do this thing before all Israel and before the sun.
Read.
And David said unto Nathan, I have sinned against the Lord. And Nathan said unto David, the Lord also hath put away thy sin,
Wait,
that thou shalt
he
not
just
die.
pronounced the punishments coming to David. These are things that are going to happen, but the Lord put away his sin. Keep reading.
Verse 14. Howbeit, because by this deed thou hast given great occasion to the enemies of the Lord to blaspheme, the child also that is born unto thee shall surely die.
This is a part of the punishments that God already prescribed to David. Your son is going to die. Blood and the sword is not going to depart from your house. Your neighbor's going to raise up against you from thine own house, and he's going to lie with your wives before the sun. That means everybody's going to witness it.
But where does it say?
And because of what you
But where does it say?
and because of what you did, you've given the heathen great occasion to blaspheme. That has a meaning.
Right.
What would the heathen be able to say?
How can your God be just if his law says you must die if you're an adulterer? He spared David. Your God's unjust.
So what does God do to make it even?
He kills your son.
Yes.
That's the point. That's why
Right.
David is forgiven. The boy dies when you continue to read in the chapter. The Most High God can decide, I'm going to do these things and I'm going to forgive you. It does not have to be a chronological list in the chapter. I'm going to kill your son and I forgive you. If it's written like that, what you're saying is that's the only time you can deduce, or that it could be denoted by this chapter that that's why God forgave him. That's terrible logic.
That's not my argument. You said that everything y'all just said, I don't disagree with. That's literally how I teach it. The reason why that child had to die, because that child would give the nations to blaspheme against God, because we know David's son had to sit on the throne. That's why King Solomon is born in the same chapter to sit on the throne. I don't disagree. If that baby would have been born, well, would have been raised up and sat on that throne, the nations would have had a reason to blaspheme. I don't disagree with anything you said. But where in there does it say? Hold on. Where in there does it say that baby was a sacrifice for David's sin?
The point I made is the blasphemy
Yeah.
that the heathen would have occasion against is saying that nobody died for a sin unto death.
Yes, that's the
sin
blasphemy.
That's the blasphemy. The sin that David committed is a sin unto death. But who's gonna put him to death?
And you will break God's promises if David dies.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
So blood has to be shed.
Where does
so the son shall die?
Where does it say this baby is a sacrifice for David's sin?
Yo,
in the language of, because you have given the nations great occasion to blaspheme, your son shall die.
That's not language of
dog.
sacrifice for sin.
Reading in context.
You gotta be kidding me.
You interpret it that way, but that's not what it says.
I mean, come on.
Come on, man. You're
it's
better than this.
How that whole context thing, when it works in their favor, then they want to apply it. You don't want to apply it in this one, though, dog, do you?
I am applying the context. The context is David did wrong. He got punished. David did wrong, and through that wrong, he had a baby through that wrong. That baby could not sit on the throne of David. He cannot be of the royal seed, so that baby had to die. It's
It
called.
don't say that,
What?
Gadol.
What?
Hold
It
on,
don't
hold
say
on,
that.
hold,
You got to
hold
show
on,
that.
hold,
Now you got to
hold
show that
on,
in the
hold
scripture
on,
right here.
hold on. Again, you guys are interpreting. That's what we're doing. We're interpreting here. So
True
again,
indeed. True indeed.
don't
True
try to
indeed.
play game like y'all the only ones that can interpret,
True
right?
indeed.
I'm
True
giving
indeed.
you my understanding, right? So in this chapter, this is cause and effect. If I am promised that my son would sit on the throne, and I go out and do what David did, and I have a baby out of sin, that baby would not be allowed to sit on the throne because other nations are going to look at that baby on the throne and say, how is this nation so righteous and that baby was born because this man took another man's wife? Why would we want to worship this God? That is
Wait,
blasphemy.
why it couldn't be said about Solomon?
Hold on, that is
Solomon is a child of Bathsheba,
but she
who
was
was a
his wife
wife.
at that
Wait,
point.
listen, who was a wife
She was his
excuse
wife
me,
at that point.
who was a woman taken by King David from a man while he was still living.
But the difference is
How does he get to keep her and his life?
Because the point is, but Solomon, the dude was dead already. It wasn't his wife no more. It was
No,
David's
no,
wife.
no, no. You didn't hear what I said. He laid with the woman while the man was alive.
That's the first baby. That's not Solomon.
Oh,
That's the
Jesus,
first baby.
man.
That's,
No,
It's still wrong.
prolific.
It's still wrong
Listen,
though.
it's
Hey, what makes
wrong
it a
for.
that's
Go
not,
ahead, Kyle.
with Solomon, that woman wasn't that dude's wife no more. That was
No, you're
David's
not.
wife
You're
now.
not. You're
Hey,
not
you know,
understanding
So it's
my
not a
both
point.
sin.
My point.
interpretations y'all given is sacrifice. Even Gadal, your interpretation is being given by sacrifice. The only difference that y'all making is what the sacrifice is for. You're saying the sacrifice is for a king. They saying it's the sacrifice for atonement. But y'all both saying the exact same thing. By right, David and Bathsheba was supposed to die.
That's a fact.
That's how you know.
That's
That's
a
how you know it's a
fact.
sacrifice. Adultery does not say, like the scriptures say, nobody's supposed to pay for nobody else's sins. That's what the law say. But David is king, so who's going to come and kill him? That's why the Lord steps in, and then the Lord decided who was going to die, what sacrifice was going to be given. So instead of David and Bathsheba being the sacrifice for the sin, the son became the sacrifice. Regardless of how you break
That
it
makes
down what it
sense.
was for, but
Right.
regardless of how you break down what it was for, God chose to punish who he chose to punish. That's what makes it a sacrifice, regardless of interpretation.
Man,
So our
I
point
would
remains:
disagree.
blood must be shed.
No,
That's the point.
I would
Is that
disagree.
Captain Zaryak?
Yeah, that's kind of it.
Oh, shalom, brother. I didn't know you brother.
Hey, shalom.
I would disagree. I would disagree with that because I'm not saying it's a sacrifice. I'm saying it's cause and effect. Cause and effect. That baby had to die because what David did was wrong. And that baby could not sit on the throne. That baby was not to cover David's sin because David's sin was already put away because he confessed his sin. He confessed his sin and his sin was put away, but that baby still had to die because of cause and effect. Again, I use the
So
example.
prolific.
But
Then
No, my only
Witness.
question. I just got one
Nah.
question.
let me finish using my example real fast.
Gadol,
I
you
go
don't
out
even
here,
believe that.
I do believe that. If I go out here,
Gadol but you don't believe that. You don't believe
how
that.
you gonna tell me what I believe if I'm saying?
because if
The
you're
dog.
So
an advocate,
let me finish.
if you're an
Because
Let me
advocate,
finish.
Gadol, you know why
Let me
you
finish
know
what I'm
why I
saying.
know you don't believe that. Gadol, you know why I know you don't believe that.
Let me finish what I'm saying, and then you can tell me why you know I don't believe something. All right.
Well,
So,
just before you advance, because we're not gonna stop you. Before you advance, we talking about this right now. Yo, Gadol, you know, if I was committing witchcraft, I can't just confess it and my sin is put away. You know that.
right? The law don't make way for that. Where you
that's
see
not.
that?
I'm just
That's
saying. Can
not
you
true.
rationalize that?
That's not true. That's not true at all. And when there's
What?
in this time period right now, when there is no Levitical priesthood, where there's no temple, the law literally tells you to confess your iniquity, and God will turn back to you. The law literally tells us that. So how you gonna tell me what I don't believe when the
All
law
right.
tells
Because
Okay,
me
so
that?
let's go to the
when
law.
David,
Real
Gadol,
quick.
because when David
Let's go
was
to the
king,
law.
the Levitical priest was set up.
Exactly.
Right?
That's what I'm
But
saying.
you
Look,
you
Real
just told
quick.
me
All
I
right,
don't.
then.
Hold on. Let
Hey,
me finish
the
saying.
dog, hold on. You keep saying
Let me,
this whole thing like if you just confess with your lips. Let's go to the law dealing with that. Because I think where your
so,
problem is there's a
so are
process
we changing the
to
topic now?
atonement to sin. Can y'all hear
Well,
me?
I don't want Gadol
Are
to
we,
feel like he's not allowed to. He's not being.
No. It's not that though. But we have to address this
Yeah,
whole
but
thing
people don't be
about even the law
He is
going to
so
getting
determine the
jumped though.
sin.
Like if he could just,
Ari,
he
don't
is
be
getting jumped
understanding
a
how
little
we
bit.
do.
My
He is
apologies.
getting
My
jumped.
apologies. My apologies.
Don't worry. I
So
beat up 3 people at one time all the
Nah,
time.
brother.
Now
Nah,
he's
brother.
saying
Okay,
that
go
now. Then
ahead
he
and
gonna say
Now,
I
finish.
can't
now,
talk.
now let's
In
jump
a
it.
minute he gonna say he can't talk, but then he battled 3 people at the same time.
All right. So I don't forgot my point. I don't forgot what I was saying.
But
Now.
he,
Oh,
he
all
was
right.
we
Toss
was
in the
Yeah, the
vet.
but
challenging
he
point
you.
was
forgot his
We was
point though. He
challenging
beat
you.
3 people. He
Yeah.
forgot his point though.
We we was challenging you that the innocent baby died just because it's a cause and effect.
Okay.
Ah,
Yeah. Right.
ah.
I mean, don't make you right because you say So
go ahead,
the
man.
example I like to use, take it to the. If I go out and do something and I get locked up, now my children are left without a father and they suffer because they don't have their father in their life.
Brother,
They're
what?
not, bro. Ashad, let me finish what
I'm
I'm saying.
sorry. I'm just
You could
reacting.
disagree, but
I'm
let me just
sorry,
finish.
brother.
React on mute. So my children gonna be suffering because of what I did. They're not suffering for my sin. It's the difference between for and because. They're suffering because of what I did, because I was irresponsible. I turned away from God. Now they have to live this life because their father was an idiot. So when we bring it back to the Bible, David did a sin. He messed up, and this baby was born, and this baby could not sit on the throne. So that baby had to die. That is cause and effect. Nowhere in that text does it say that baby was a sacrifice for David's sin.
May
Nowhere.
I say this?
It
It
don't
says
say that
David's
he
sin
can't
was
sit on
put
the throne
away.
either.
May I say this? That's
It
a
don't say
false.
that either.
That's a false equivalency because the Most High God told him, because of this, I'm gonna kill your son. Like this wasn't like nigga.
Because, not
It wasn't.
for.
It wasn't. No, wait. Listen.
Because,
It
not
wasn't
Because
for.
and four have the same
because and
No,
semantic
it
four is
don't.
the
range.
same thing.
No, it's
Listen.
not.
Let me say it. Wait. Let me say it. David, you took this woman from a man. You committed adultery. Gadal, just answer this. Just answer this, and I'm gonna make my point. What is the punishment for adultery?
Death.
Niggas gotta die.
Now
Wait,
answer my question.
David's the king. Hold on, wait. I said I'm gonna make my point. David's the king. David is promised something by the Most High, that his bloodline would continue to sit the throne. If I kill David, how is that prophecy fulfilled? It's not. If I don't kill David, the heathen get to say this. You have a law from God, which is supposed to be perfect, which states that if you commit adultery, you die for it. How come David gets to live and gets to keep his wife, this woman that he took from another man? That's sin. Their marriage isn't even sanctified through the lens of the law. The law would say they're outlaws because they did something that was egregious and punishable by death. So how come David ain't dead? So what does the Lord say? Because of this, I gotta kill your boy. Why? So that no evil can be spoken of God. And the evil that would be spoken of God is God's not just. The measurement of just and righteousness is God's commandment, his law, his word. Blood has to be shed because of this, David, and it's your son. That is a sacrifice for sin, a sin unto death.
Okay, let me address that again. Nowhere in this text does it say it was for David's sin. Nowhere in this text does it say the baby was a sacrifice. In this text, it literally says, I'm gonna read it right here. This is 2 Samuel 12, verse 13. And David said unto Nathan, I have sinned against the Lord. And Nathan said unto David, the Lord has put away thy sin, thy shall not die. So the reason David didn't die is because his sin was put away. When God puts away your sin, that means what? Your sin is forgiven. It's removed. No one,
Prolific.
you're not held responsible for it no more.
Prolific.
David, hold on first. David confessed his sin, and God put his sin away. So when you continue reading, howbeit because this deed, so because what you did, this baby has to die. His sin was put away. The baby is not being killed for the sin because David's sin was put away. The baby is dying for cause and effect.
Okay,
Prolific.
so
Let me
That's
wait
ask you that.
simple.
before
That's
Hold on.
wait
simple,
before
bro.
Let me
you
ask you that.
wait
Let me ask
before
you that.
you ask him
Hold on.
something.
Let me ask you it.
Wait, hold on. Before you ask him something, prolific. Under Levitical law, under the administration of the Levitical law, under the Levitical priesthood, how do you put away sin from Israel if a sin that that is punishable by death is committed?
That was my same question. That was my same exact question.
How do you do it? How do you do it?
It's impossible.
One, hold on. I'm gonna give you an examples of how you do it. I'm gonna go to the
You
book of
answered it earlier. It's the same answer, brother.
no, it's not. I'm gonna give you an example. I'm gonna read the Bible. I'm gonna give you book chapter verse because y'all don't read book chapter verse in here no more. So I'm gonna go to book chapter verse and I'm gonna show you an example of someone doing sin that's punishable by death and what they did. And you let me know if they did a blood sacrifice with this. I'm gonna go to Second Chronicles. Second Chronicles. No, it's the First Chronicles. Let me grab this. I think it's First Chronicles. Grab this for you. And you tell me if this sin is of death and tell me did he give a sacrifice. All right. This is Second Chronicles 33. I'm going to read verse 14. Verse 11. It says in I'm going to start at verse 3. But before I read it, do you believe is idolatry a sin worthy of death? Yes or no?
Brother, this is about to be prove
It's
my
real
point.
simple.
Yes, idolatry is a sin unto death.
Okay, so right here in verse 11. Wherefore the Lord brought up unto them the captains of the host, the king of Assyria, who took Manasseh among the thorns and bound him with feathers and carried him to Babylon. Did Manasseh do idolatry? Yes or no?
Yes, Manasseh was an idolater.
Okay. And he was punished, right? He was taken to Babylon, right?
Yes.
All right, verse 12. And it was an affliction. He besought the Lord his God, humbled himself greatly before the Lord the God of his fathers, and prayed unto him, and he was entreated of him, and he heard his supplication and brought him again unto Jerusalem, his kingdom. Then Manasseh knew that the Lord, he was God. Did Manasseh give a blood sacrifice to be restored and forgiven of his sin of death?
Nope. Why?
Okay, so
Wait, why? No, wait, let's talk about it. Why?
because he did the law, he did Leviticus
No,
26.
where's Manasseh when he's acknowledging his sin?
He's carried away to Babylon.
So he's under Babylonian rule, yes?
Yes.
Is he under Levitical? Is he under the jurisdiction of the Levitical priesthood in Babylonian captivity? Yes or no?
Yes, he's under Leviticus 26.
Oh my
That's the
God,
Levit.
bro.
Yes, he did. Did
So
he
the
not issue the
Levites,
law of Leviticus
under
26?
Babylonian captivity, the Levites can come and gather him and stone him to death for idolatry. That's what you're telling me?
This is the point I'm making, Ashaya. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, but
It's all right. Just say Ash.
Yeah. Just because a sin is worthy of death doesn't mean blood is always required. So
No. I asked you a specific question.
Hold on. I went here to show you someone that did a sin punishable by death. There was no blood required for him. So, and just because King David did a sin punishable by death, blood didn't need to happen. He repented from his sin just like Manasseh did.
Brother, I asked you
His sin was put away.
I asked you a very specific question. Under the Levitical priesthood, what is the way that you put away a sin from Israel when the sin is punishable by death?
Under the
And you went to this.
under the Levitical priesthood, according to Leviticus 26. Leviticus is the law of the Levites of the Levitical priesthood. During King Manasseh, the Levitical priesthood was still standing. This is still the law. Blood is not required.
Brother, so the Levites can go get King Manasseh in Babylonian captivity and stone him to death. That's what you're telling me?
They could have stoned him when he came back.
Brother, no. No.
What are you talking about? No. This is a law that's punishable
Because
by
Israel
death
went into
that did not require blood.
Israel as a whole went into Babylonian captivity, bro.
Yes, and they did not need blood to be restored. This is the conversation we're having about blood.
Wait, what do you mean?
Blood
What do you
being
mean
needed.
restored? They went to Babylonian captivity and then they went to another captivity.
Did they
They were
not?
restored. They were restored after Babylon into their land with their kingdomship. What are you talking about?
Did they
The
go in,
Bible literally
did they
tells you that.
go into captivity after Babylonian
Yes,
captivity? Yes
after,
or no?
after they sinned again, yes.
Bro,
That's not the argument I'm making.
the point we're making is David is in the kingdom and he committed this sin. And in his committing of this sin, he was confronted by Nathan the prophet in the kingdom. He wasn't in captivity. The Levites are at the temple right now, making sacrifice and burning incense. You committed adultery, David, a sin unto death.
And
In
when
order for the promise made to David to be fulfilled and the righteousness of the law still be fulfilled, somebody gotta die. And that was David's son. That
all right,
is
let me
the punishment for the sin unto death that he committed, which is blood. That's the point we just made.
let me give you another example. If you eat at the Passover unclean, what's the punishment?
If you eat at the Passover unclean,
Yes, if you unclean, you defile the Passover, you defile the temple, you defile the name of the Most High. What is the punishment? Is it death?
you cut off from the people, I believe.
Okay, is that death? If
Show
you
me that. Go to the verse so we can read it.
okay,
We're
now,
gonna go Chronicles. Same arguments, man.
not the same argument. Is the truth. If you defile the temple, defile the name of the Most High, you die.
Wait,
That's the Levitical law.
you know what
Hold on, this
the answer is that when
Leviticus.
we had that conversation.
Oh,
But go ahead, Gadol.
what are you talking about, dog? Is it if you defile the temple, you die, bro? Like, what? That's the facts. This is the Leviticus chapter. Let me grab this real fast. Leviticus chapter. Defile yourself. Is that 18? Hold up. Let me grab. I think that's Leviticus chapter 18. It's crazy. People act like what down.
Hey, yo, Prolific, I'm about to drop down. Shalom to the panel. Thank you for having me up. It was a good conversation. I got to do something real quick. But shalom, yo.
Shalom, shalom.
Hey, by the way,
Shalom, man.
while Gadol is looking for that, hey, we appreciate everybody for joining us. Make sure you follow the platform, all right? Sons of Thunder Israelites. Make sure you guys are also sharing the space. If you have anything you want to add, any scholarship you want to add to the conversation, please raise your hand. Come up to the stage. We actually you just stay in order. And again, we appreciate our guests for joining us in this build. Gadol, did you get it?
Yeah, I think Leviticus 19. Leviticus 19.
Let's not forget that Isaiah 53 and 10 is the higher conversation. It's the reason why we're here.
Yeah, actually,
So just
we
throwing
got
that
to
out
go
there.
back to that. And the brother you were having the conversation, I think he just stepped away. But
Oh,
Gadol,
okay,
go ahead
okay.
with your point.
Con.
Yeah, but all right, we'll come back to that.
I'm looking for that text in Leviticus where they were told they couldn't go to the temple unclean unless they would die.
It's in Chronicles. You remember we were having a conversation? There's it dealing with Hezekiah.
No, I'm not going to that one right now. I'm going because he acting like he don't know that if you go defile the temple, you die. So I gotta pull that verse first. So I gotta
Okay,
pull that verse.
fine. Yeah, and brothers can help Gadol, man. Gadol is a good guest,
Hey, who died when David numbered the children of Israel? Salakia, I'm gonna mute up.
All the people.
Oh, okay. All
man.
Pro, what are you looking for?
It's in Leviticus where it told them if they come to the temple unclean and they defile the temple, they will be unalived.
Oh, come. Okay. Oh, yeah. Hold on.
Is it 1531? I don't know. Trying to help a little bit.
You said 1531. Let me see.
I have no clue. I'm just trying to throw some help.
Is it thus things separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness that they die? Yeah, I think this is thus shall you separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness that they die not in their uncleanness when they defile my tabernacle that is among them. Yep, that's it right there. You see that, Shai?
Just say Ash, okay?
Ash, my bad. I'm sorry. No, pardon me.
Ash, you there? He might be busy. Might got caught up in something.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is, if you go to the temple unclean, you die. That's why the priests have to clean you. But in Second Chronicles 30, they actually did this. They were unclean. The priests they couldn't cleanse all the people, and they kept Passover. And we know, according to the law, they kept Passover in Jerusalem. And according to Deuteronomy 16:16, you have to present yourself to the temple to keep Passover, right? So they presented themselves to the temple and kept Passover unclean, but Hezekiah prayed for them, and they were forgiven of that. No blood was needed. So this is more examples of how, just because is a sin by death, there's ways outside of blood to be forgiven and atoned for.
Yeah, but okay, so let's go back to Leviticus 5. Remember, you guys are talking about that, right? I think you got to understand the process of atonement. So just because it doesn't necessarily say that a sacrifice was offered at that moment does not mean that that wasn't offered. Okay, when we go back to the Leviticus 5, you guys were using as your crutch of your argument. Let's read verse. Let's do this real quick, and after this, I'm gonna yield. All right, so Leviticus chapter 5 and verse. I'm gonna start at verse 5. Just go right to the point. It says, and it shall be when he shall be guilty in one of these things, that he shall confess that he had sinned, which is what David did, right? He confessed to his sins, right? In that, it says, in that thing, and he shall bring his trespass offering. It's a process to it. It's not just you just confessing and that's it. All right, because that was what the children of Israel were doing constantly. And we can see the reflection of that when you go to Hebrews, the 10th chapter. I know you don't subscribe to the New Testament, because that was a habit that they did constantly year to year, right? This is why the Most High said obedience is better than sacrifice. So the Most High wants our obedience rather than the sacrifices that we keep giving to him. So again, there's a process to that whole thing of when you're atoning for a sin. It's not just you just confessing your sins, right? There's something else has to happen. This is why it links back to Leviticus, the 17th chapter, 11 verse. That still stands. That's how you atone for your sin. There has to be shedding of blood,
There has to
especially
be
if you're
shed.
going with sin guys onto death, man. But anyways,
Hey, Ari,
I yield for now.
Ari, I just want to ask, or Ari or Prolific, one of y'all, it doesn't matter. I came back, I had walked away from the phone, but you went to I heard Hezekiah and the Passover. So the example you're using is Hezekiah keeping the Passover, which we both understand. I just want to make sure you understand. The people are coming back to the law. You agree, yes?
Yes, 100%.
Right. So, and they're coming back to the law of God. They're keeping the Passover. They're earnestly trying to return to God. And in their keeping of the Passover, what's required in the Passover?
Like, what do you mean, like lamb,
Yeah,
wine,
it's
bread? Yeah,
a sacrifice, a sacrifice of a lamb. Yes,
yeah. That's not a sin offering, though.
brother, that's the shedding of blood.
I'm just saying the Passover lamb is not a sin offering, though.
But these people are returning to the Most High God, right?
Yeah, yes, I agree with you. I'm just pointing out the Passover lamb is not a sin offering, though.
Yeah,
I'm just showing you a sacrifice had to be made. So even in that sense, which is an account showing you the return of Jerusalem to keeping the commandments of God. These are people that are coming together to keep God's commandments. If we get super technical, then everybody got to die. But then how? How can the promise made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob be
No,
fulfilled if everybody die?
No, I agree with you. God showed them mercy. No, yeah, God showed them mercy because they was coming back to the law. They was doing right. God showed them mercy. 100%. I agree with you. What I'm saying is, in that they committed a sin that was punishable by death, and what Hezekiah did was offer up his lips, his sacrifice of his lips, his prayer, and that was forgiven. They didn't need to offer a blood sacrifice for that. That's an example. I was just
Yeah,
giving an
but dog,
example
you
of it.
gotta go. You
But I
gotta go
agree.
there,
He
man.
gave them mercy.
God.
Yeah, you got to go
If we
ahead,
if we
brother.
if we
Come on,
look at
I didn't want to say real quick. I'm gonna give it to you. I didn't want to bring that up because we've had this conversation. I kind of let you bring it out, but you got to visit that text, okay? And Cap, real quick. Why did you bring up the point dealing with King David numbering the children of Israel and all that? Could you expound on that? Because I know you kind of
Oh,
left that
because
out.
they was his sacrifice. That was the sacrifice back then. They died over David's sin. When we talk about like what y'all arguing, what
Cap, stay
Gadal
out
is
of this. I don't
arguing,
want to cut you, Cap.
what y'all arguing, man, you can't cut me, man. What like because you taking a whole different argument. Like you're making an argument about sacrificing without death by just sacrificing by doing that. This argument is really about the Lord judging. I think y'all talking about sacrifice and why was Yahweh Shai able to be a sacrifice? Because that's the Lord's judgment. Nobody can pay for somebody else's sin unless the Lord intervenes. So when David numbered the people, those people that died did not sin. David sinned. So why are they paying for David's sin? Because the Lord can sacrifice or make somebody pay regardless. So that's why I was bringing up a different example. So we can see David's son died because of David and Bathsheba's sin. Those children of Israel that died over David's sin. Why did they die? Because the Lord can, like Deuteronomy, I think 32 says, I kill, I make alive, I wound, I heal, because the Lord can do that. So when you pull scriptures with Leviticus with sacrificing with your mouth and stuff like that. That's not the subject. Subject is not can you sacrifice by mouth. The subject I believe is about sacrifice, and the Lord can do whatever He wants. That was the
Hey,
reason I brought it up.
hey, Cap. Before you go, Ash, I want to say this. Cap, you my favorite Israelite, so
Don't
I'm
try to
not gonna
gas me
cut you.
up.
I'm not gonna cut you right now. If that was anybody else, I would have cut you, but I'm gonna let you slide. Go ahead.
No
Now I was
sweat.
gonna ask.
No sweat.
I was just gonna ask. Correct me if I'm wrong, Godal, but is it your position, like many others that I've heard, that a man cannot die for the sins of a of Israel or of another man?
Yeah, I don't see in a text where a man dies for the sin of Israel.
Right. So that's where I think that's where we're essentially fundamentally bumping heads at, because you don't see the death of David's son as him dying for the sin of his father.
Yeah, no, because it literally says David's sin was put away after he admitted his sin, and then it says, "But your son is going to die, so the nations won't blaspheme." It doesn't say that he died for the sin or he died to cover the sin. I don't see that.
Yeah, we would disagree there. I think of course, like you said,
That's why
which I can admit. Go ahead.
I was going to add, that's why even Gadal's example earlier, Gadal, when y'all was saying it was a sacrifice for that, Gadal was saying that's not in there, that's not in there. But then he gave his interpretation, and his interpretation is not in there either. But it's because of that default position that y'all have. So y'all gonna
Right,
have a
right,
different position regardless.
Yeah, I could agree.
right.
I could agree to
And
that.
that's why I was saying I can admit that, this is a difference of interpretation that me and you have, that
Yeah,
we have on
Oh,
the stage. So I can live with that.
yeah, we can shake
Um,
hands on that for sure. Yeah.
Shalom,
And I'm
Hey,
about
Shalom.
to
real
get
quick.
out the way. I know other brothers maybe want to speak, and Cap know me. You know, I don't stand with everybody, so I'm gonna just mute up if y'all want to talk to the other brothers.
Yeah, Gadal uses my UPK slogan, like a lot of Israelites start doing. They start saying we ain't affiliated. I ain't gonna say nothing else.
Hey, Hebrew, hit me in the phone,
Shalom.
Hebrew.
Hey, real quick. Hey,
Yeah,
Shalom. Welcome to the stage, man. Go ahead. The floor is yours, man. Thanks for being patient.
thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Now, I just wanted to make 2 points real quick. And the brother Oz just kind of touched on it. It's not so much a difference of interpretation; it's a difference of uh, I don't want to use the word comprehension, but I'm gonna just spit it out real quick. Um, when we say that, I'm OT only, by the way, y'all only to be specific. But whenever we say that a man can't die for another man's sins, we're not talking about, the examples that was just used with David. Those people did die because of David's sins, but those deaths did not wipe away David's sin. And so there's a difference in that terminology. Yes, people can die for your sins. You can be guilty by association, and you can get the death penalty, from being around, or from just not telling on people when you should have told on people. I'm not saying people should be snitching, but there's a time and place, like Leviticus 5:1.
Hey,
However,
can I ask you about something
yeah,
you said real quick,
yeah, go ahead.
just so that it doesn't get lost later on.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
said you said the people that died because of David's numbering of the people,
Hmm.
that didn't erase what was recognized as David's sin, which is numbering of the people, because numbering of the people is a sin, correct? He
Yeah,
did sin by doing so,
The Most High didn't like that at all.
right? Um, when we see in the scripture conversation regarding David's sin,
Hmm.
and what he was blamed for, which what sin he did do, it mentions his the matter of Uriah the Hittite.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, give me 1 second. I'm over multitasking.
for sure.
USB. No, setup. There we go. So can somebody pull that scripture for me real quick?
What do you want, King?
Um, as concerning Uriah the Hittite, I think I want First Kings. Go to First Kings 15. 15, start at 5.
Okay, I got you, King. First King 15, start at 5.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
First King chapter 15, verse 5. Because David did that which was right in the eyes of the Lord, and turned not aside from anything that he commanded him all the days of his life, save only in the matter of Uriah the Hittite.
So it's recognized that David was righteous in the sight of God all the days of his life, save the matter of Uriah the Hittite.
That's
Uh,
right.
why didn't it make mention of his numbering of the people here?
Because the numbering of the people doing the census is not really a sin unless the Most High tells you not to do it at that particular time, which is what He told David. And this is why we got to
Hmm?
understand what that punishment was really about. That punishment wasn't about just numbering the people. That punishment was about faith. David was getting the big head from winning all those wars and thinking that it's by his muscle. So when David seen, I forgot the other nation that was trying to come against him,
Damn.
he seen they had a bigger nation. They had a bigger military, bigger army, and so David kind of got a little shook and decided to count up his army. Let me see if we can match up. And the Most High was looking like, damn, I done brought you through many wars with fewer people than everybody, and you always come out strong. Why you want to count now? Why not? Why you not believing in me? And that's what pissed the Most High off. It was a faith issue, and he had to show David. Now I'm gonna kill off more people. Now you got to fight with even less.
Wait, but it was a sin, right? You just said
It
his
was a
numbering of the
sin, and
people was a sin.
it was a personal sin between David and the Most
So
High.
there's
Yeah,
a difference between personal sin and sin.
no, it's a difference between personal sin and law. If the Most High tells you to do something, tells you specifically to do something, and you don't do it, then you yourself committed a sin. Not that you
What's the
necessarily broke.
difference in the judgment?
Right.
Probably not a difference in the judgment.
The
It's just
difference in
that.
the judgment is that if that was anybody else, they would have died themselves. In
Oh,
this instance,
you mean with David?
yeah,
Oh, well, no, he
they
wouldn't have killed David because he already made a promise
That's
with
the
David.
that ain't what. But boy, I don't see how y'all don't get this, man. If it was anybody else, that individual would have died, right?
Possibly, yeah, depending on
Right. But
what was
in this
spoken of
context,
before.
the
Yeah,
Lord carried out the judgment, right?
that's right. That's right.
Right. And so his judgment was against people that did not sin, right?
Yeah, but it's still a punishment to David. Those people that died was still David's punishment, just like his son.
I didn't hear your answer. Can you back up a little bit? When I said
Yeah,
his judgment was against those that did not sin, I didn't hear your answer. My
yeah, that
phone
was
had went
still
out.
the ones that the Most High killed was still a punishment to David.
Right. So they died for David's transgression, right?
They died because of David's transgression. They didn't
Same
die
thing.
to.
I'm cool.
No,
Yeah,
no, no.
good.
That is not. It's not the same thing, King. Because this is where we get misconstrued. When people
Mm,
die because of somebody else's sin, doesn't mean that it's wiping away that other person's transgression.
I'm not talking
It just
about wife.
means
I'm
that.
not talking about wiping anybody. I'm just talking about somebody paying for somebody else's sin. That's all I'm demonstrating here.
Right, but that's what I'm
and
trying
you
to
are
show you.
agreeing with me.
No, no, I'm not agreeing. I'm trying to show you they
Oh,
did
okay.
not
You
pay.
sound like it.
They didn't pay for his sins. They died because of his sin, but they didn't pay for his sin.
Well, didn't he get three? Wait,
He got three
did,
punishments.
wait. I'm a little lost. Didn't they? So let's say if he didn't number them, would they have died?
No.
Shalom. I mean, I don't know what we're talking about.
I'm just pointing out
Yeah,
the fact
I
that
think
what we get
Real quick.
misconstrued.
I think the stance Ark is taking is listen. It's more of a judgment than basically wiping away the sins of King David. I think that's where you're coming from, right, Ark? It's more
That's
of a
correct. That's
judgment to
correct.
him and the nation. Okay.
That's right.
Hmm. I thought
Now the
nobody
Most
could
High
pay for
does not
nobody
delight
else's sin.
in human sacrifice.
I thought nobody could pay
I'm
for
sorry,
nobody
I
else.
didn't hear you.
I said I thought nobody could pay for somebody else's sin. That's what I thought.
You can't. Another person's death can't wipe away somebody else's
You
sin. We
know,
can see that in Ezekiel
it works the
18.
other way
You
around,
said
right?
he rephrased that? Yeah.
Say it one more time, out.
No, oh, he can say it. Yeah.
I didn't hear you out.
You saying the same thing I'm saying. You just don't want to yield to it.
I might be. Maybe I'm just misunderstanding what you're saying. I might be.
Yeah, we're saying is the y'all's premise concerning Christ is the Most High God is not going to take delight in somebody dying, a sacrifice, and that being a person. But in the law, it requires somebody to die.
Yeah.
That's a sacrifice for
Yeah.
sin.
In the
And one
law?
one
What
last
law?
thing, and then y'all got it. Here's the sum total of why they brush back. They agree with everything until Christ is punished for it.
Right.
It's Christ is. They'll agree with David. They'll break it down a whole nine. But as soon as you bring in reference that this is what happened with Christ, now they blinders is on. They don't understand. That's really
I
what's
don't know if
happening
that's
here.
necessarily
Hey,
true.
and look, think about the statement you made. You said the Lord doesn't take delight in human sacrifice.
Hi
What you
guys.
mean to say?
Hey, Jose. Okay. Actually, we've already figured who you was. Somebody drop him down.
Yeah, I dropped him down. That's just an idiot, common idiot. But uh,
Good.
that's the thing you got to understand. What you're trying to convey is the Lord doesn't take delight in human sacrifice as concerning what the Canaanites were doing. They were offering their children up to Baal. They
That's
were
true.
burning their children
Hmm.
for a false deity. That's no. What the hell is that? That's the way of the Canaanite. But
Yeah, it's
now what you have
abomination.
to do is you have to harmonize the situation that happens. Can somebody go to the book of Judges chapter 11?
Yeah, I think we still confused on
What
what
about Psalms
sacrifice is.
116 and verse 15?
Somebody got that? Judges
You
chapter
said what?
Yeah,
11.
I
Judges
got you,
chapter.
King. I got you. And listen, real quick, if there's any readers in the audience that can read, please come up to the stage. It'll be greatly appreciated. But Judges 11 and what, King? Where you trying to go?
Go to verse 31.
All right, Judges 11 and verse 31. Then it shall be that whatsoever cometh forth of the door of my house to meet me, when I return in peace from the children of Ammon, shall surely be the Lord's, and I will offer it up for a burnt offering.
So it's going to be offered up for a burnt offering. This is the conversation of Jephthah, right? He's going to
Yeah.
offer this to the Lord. This is a sacrifice being made. Burnt
Okay.
offering. Jump down to verse 39.
All right, Judges, come,
Yeah, just read verse 39.
come, Judges 11 and 39. And it came to pass at the end of 2 months that she returned unto her father, who did her according to his vow, which he had vowed. And she knew no man, and it was custom in Israel.
Right, it was a custom in Israel that the daughters of Israel went yearly to lament, the daughter of Jephthah, right? But
Right.
what happened? She went and was offered up as a burnt offering to the Lord. Is this a human sacrifice?
Nah, that's a judgment.
That's a judgment, brother. What does a sacrifice go to? Who does a sacrifice go to? Who does it go to?
The sacrifice goes to the priest and they perform the sacrifice, and the sacrifice is there to literally atone for sins.
Who is the sacrifice going to? When
What
they
you mean,
take
Who is
brother?
it
when they
for? You
take the
asking who it's for?
sacrifice upon the altar, what is the sacrifice going up to? Who?
I was going to the Most High.
Who did Jephthah give his daughter to?
I got to go back. I'm not totally familiar with that one. I got to go back and look at it.
Go back up,
Thought you said it was a judgment.
read verse 31 again.
Yeah, if I'm remembering it correctly, that was a judgment, but I might be wrong.
Read verse
Put
31
your,
again.
real quick. Hey, put your eye in where we are. You got your sword on you?
No, I'm at work.
Okay. All right. So we're going to read it again for you. Okay. Judges 11 and 31. It says, then it shall be that whatsoever cometh forth of the door of my house to meet me, when I return in peace from the children of Ammon, shall surely be the Lord's, and I will offer it up for a burnt offering.
Who did he give his daughter to?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Come on, brother. Hey, y'all, I gotta get ready to go. I'm about to clock off, head over to training, man. I'm gonna be listening in. I'll be able to add in when I can.
All right.
But you can take the build if you like. All right. But we see here, obviously, Jephthah is giving his daughter to the Lord. This is
Okay.
what he vowed, that I'm gonna offer it up to you, to the Lord. How did he offer it up to the Lord? He burnt her as an offering. So my question to the brother was, is this a human sacrifice? And his
That's
answer
it.
was,
It
this
seems
is
like
a
a human
judgment.
sacrifice the way it's reading. Nah, I'm gonna change that answer because that seems like a human sacrifice. But what was he sacrificing? Like, what was the point of it?
Because
Was
he
he
made a
trying to
vow to the
atone
Lord
for
to offer
sin?
her up to the Lord.
But was he trying to atone for sins?
Sacrifice. No,
He might have
remember
burnt
the
his
question.
daughter, but what was
The
her
reason
sacrifice for?
wait, listen. The reason I'm here is because you said
Mm-hmm.
that the Lord does not take delight in a human sacrifice.
He
This is
don't.
the argument to teach against the idea of Christ's sacrifice. Christ cannot be a sacrifice because the Lord don't take delight in human sacrifice. That's your
It's more. It's
premise.
more to. It's more to it than
Yeah,
that,
but
though.
that's one of your premises, right?
But that's one point. Yeah.
You're right. That's one of the pillars of your argument. I'm knocking down that pillar right now. The Most High God took
I
the.
don't think so. I don't think so.
I do think so because what is this? Is this a human sacrifice? Yes or no?
It's a burnt offering, but what is she
Is it a human
sacrificed for?
sacrifice? Is this a human
Well,
being burnt
yes.
and offered
Yes.
up to the Lord?
Absolutely.
All right. So is this a human
100%.
sacrifice? Yes or no?
Yeah, I'm just saying yes. But what
All
is it
right.
for?
So the Most High God accepted a human sacrifice that Jephthah sent up, which was his daughter.
I'm gonna go back and read through that and study that out because I don't know where that story goes or to even speak to it. To be honest with you,
That's the end of the story. And then he goes on and he fights the Ephraimites because
Ammonite.
he goes on and fights the Ephraimites after
Oh my bad.
this because the Ephraimites the princes of Ephraim were upset that he didn't tell them to come up and fight with him against the children of Ammon, because after you
But check
defeat
this.
these people, you take their land. So that's
That's
the
right.
end of it. The
Okay.
Lord received his offering, which was a human being.
It says that the Most High received his offering.
Yeah, he offered up to the Lord. He vowed a vow unto the Lord. If he did not make good on that vow, is that a sin?
If the Most High expected it of him, then it would be a sin.
All right, because the law says that. So if he don't make that
Right.
vow, don't make good on that vow, it's a sin. Would he been punished for that?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Right. And you can see that in
Real quick,
Numbers.
I know you got to run.
All
Real quick, I just wanted to hit you with
right.
Leviticus 26:40-42. Oh my bad, I didn't know you were speaking.
Real quick. Can y'all hear me? No, you're good. You're good. I just want to
Yeah.
do a quick reset, okay? Just keep your thought. And I was going to come back to the brother Mavu because I know he wanted to go back to the Isaiah 53 point. But Salak and Mavu, if you're still in the room, I know brothers were just moving in spirit and just bringing it out, all right? And just the last point that was brought out, dealing with the vow, just for the edification of the room, you can see that in Numbers, the 30th chapter, verse 1 on down, and other parts of the scripture. Also, make sure you guys are sharing the space, all right? If you're not already a member, come on, man, join the space, man. You're having a conversation with brothers. You could just join the space. Kana Perry, and again, we appreciate you guys for being up here. It's always love with you. Make sure you guys are sharing the space. All right, ping other people to the room so they can be part of the build. Make sure you're sharing it in all different social media platforms that you are uh, a member of. All right. But go ahead, Ak, with your point. Okay, King. Then we're gonna move the mic a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate it. I was just going to talk to that second point I was going to make about the power of confession. Leviticus 26, 40 and 42. Let me see if I can pull up my phone real quick.
You got a second point? I wanted to speak to the first point with you before you got to a whole new point.
Oh,
That's
well,
why I
let's
came up
finish
here.
up on that then. Yeah, let's finish up on that, King.
All right,
What you got?
what's going on with y'all, man? When you go
Shalom.
to 2 Samuel 21 and verses 1 through 14, you familiar with that text right there?
About to grab it right now.
And yeah, let's not forget the Bible
You said,
say precious is the death of his saints in his sight. In his sight, right? Paraphrasing, right?
you said 2 Samuel what, King?
2 Samuel 21, and we'll start at verse 1. But you know, the Bible do say precious is the death of the saints in the sight of the Lord, right? I'm paraphrasing it.
It might say something like that. Where it say
Yeah,
that,
this is the
King?
book of Psalms, chapter 116 and verse 15. Precious
That's
in
right.
the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. You see that?
Yep.
So
I'm familiar
Christ
with
was
that.
a saint, right? Christ was an Israelite, right?
Yeah, he was of Judah, supposedly.
Yeah, not supposedly was. And well, his death would have been precious in the sight of the Lord.
No,
He's a
because he
saint.
committed sins.
Yes, a lie.
I can prove it.
No, you can't. But listen, before we get off on that, 2 Samuel 21 and 1, it says, there was a famine in the days of David of 3 years, year after year. And David inquired of the Lord, and the Lord answered, it is for Saul and for his bloody house, because he slew the Gibeonites. Nice, because of Saul and his bloody house. You can't argue with that. And the king
Right.
called the Gibeonites and said unto them, now the Gibeonites were not of the children of Israel, but the remnant of the Amorites, and the children of Israel had sworn unto them, and Saul sought to slay them in his zeal to the children of Israel and Judah. Now therefore, wherefore David said unto the Gibeonites, what shall I do for you, and wherewith shall I make atonement that ye may bless the inheritance of the Lord? So Saul killed these people, and now they in a famine. It's going bad, and they need to get things going good. Right, Ak? You
Right.
following the story so
That's
far?
right.
Any
Yes,
any
sir, I'm reading.
any pushback?
No, I'm reading with you.
Okay. So they gonna make an atonement, right?
That's right.
All right. If the land, if they're entreated by the Lord, then God accepted this atoning sacrifice, right?
Correct.
All right. Let's keep reading. Verse 4. And the Gibeonites said unto him, we will have no silver nor gold of Saul, nor of his house, neither for us shall thou kill any man in Israel. And he said, what ye shall say that I will do for you. And they answered the king, the man that consumed us and that devised against us, that we should be destroyed from remaining in any other coast of Israel, let 7 men of his sons be delivered unto us, and we will hang them up unto the Lord in Gibeah of Saul, whom the Lord did choose. And the king said, I will give them. And the king spared Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, because of the son of Saul, because the Lord's oath that was between them, between David and Jonathan, the son of Saul. But the king took the 2 sons of Rizpah, the daughter of Ai, whom she bare unto Saul, Armani and Mephibosheth, and the 5 sons of Micah, the daughter of Saul, whom she brought up for Adriel, the son of Barzillai, the Mahelathite, and he delivered them into the hands of the Gibeonites, and they hanged them in the hill before the Lord. And they fell all 7 of them together and were put to death in the days of harvest, in the first days in the beginning of the barley harvest. And Rizpah, the daughter of Ai, took sackcloth and spread it upon her upon the rock for the beginning of the harvest, until the water dropped upon them out of heaven, and suffered neither the birds of the air nor the birds of the air to rest on them by day, nor the beasts of the field by night. And it was told of David what Rizpah, the daughter of Ai, or Aiah, the daughter of Saul, had done. And David went and took the bones of Saul and the bones of Jonathan, his son, from the men of Jabesh Gilead, which had stolen them from the street of Bethshan, where the Philistines had hanged them, when the Philistines had slain Saul in Gilboa. And he brought up from thence the bones of Saul, the bones of Jonathan his son, and they gathered the bones of them that were hanged, and the bones of Saul, and the bones of Saul and Jonathan his son were buried, they in the country of Benjamin and Zelah, in the sepulchre of Kish his father, and they performed all that the king commanded. After that, God was entreated for the land. So that atonement that they offered up, which was those 7 sons, which were all humans or people, that was a good atonement to the Lord to remove that curse of famine off the land, right?
Absolutely.
So human
That's
sacrifice
the law.
good to go with God right there?
Nah, that's not human sacrifice. That's
No,
judgment.
no, no. Where did it say? Hold on,
Yeah,
hold
yeah.
on. I seen this right here. In verse 3, it said, wherefore the Lord said, David said unto the Gibeonites, what shall I do for you that wherewith we may make atonement? What's that word right there, atonement mean?
Atonement mean to make it right.
What did they use to make it right?
He killed Saul's 7 sons of his lineage.
What did they, okay, let me ask another question. What did they sacrifice to make it right?
Saul's family.
To everybody else listening, is we okay on the stage, or are we hearing the same thing?
Yeah, what he's doing is he's making a difference between judgment and sacrifice. The judgment is the
That's what I was finna say.
sacrifice.
Yeah, so that's
So
it.
if the Lord commands that you make a sacrifice, a ram and bullock for sin offering, that's a judgment.
No,
But does
but
that
No,
That's
not a
negate?
no,
judgment. That's
you
a
That is a
sacrifice.
judge. Hold
no,
on, no,
you need in
that
order.
is a
How y'all
judgment.
doing?
hold
How
on,
y'all
A
hold on,
doing?
judgment. Hold
Kanai.
on, real quick, Keenan.
No, it's Keenan, not
Hold
Kanan.
All
on,
It's
right,
Keenan.
Kanai, hold
hold
on.
on, Keenan.
No,
Kanai,
Keenan.
hold on, bro. I got you.
No,
Yeah.
Keenan.
Hey, 1 second. Is 1 second. Hey, Kenan. Yeah, just one
Thank you.
second. Let the brothers finish
Thank you.
this.
Nah,
No, you
the
good. You
brothers
good.
ain't finna
Yeah,
disrespect
yeah,
me though.
you
They gonna get my
Nah,
name
you
disrespected the
good.
corrected.
You good.
conversation
You
by
good, King.
coming off mic.
Nah,
Hey,
nah,
chill
I'm
nah.
out,
chilling,
man.
bro.
Yo,
Yeah,
Kenan, you
yeah,
good. Okay, mute up for a
Hey,
second, Kenan,
yeah,
because I have
real
to
yeah,
bring
yeah.
out a point.
Say less. Say less. Say
yeah,
less.
real
Go
quick,
ahead,
and
Ash.
I'm gonna move out the way. The judgment
Hey,
is
after
God.
y'all got the conversation, I did what I came to do. Appreciate the blood. Keenan, you will get it next time. I mean, Kanai.
Nah, negative, nigga.
You didn't cut nothing though. What? You didn't cut
At
nothing at all.
all.
Hey, hey,
That's
just
a
real
cut.
quick,
I'm down.
and then I'm gonna let y'all build. The the judgment is something God prescribes should happen. So if the Most High God says you will make a sin offering, that is a judgment the Most High God is giving. And what is the judgment? And a sin offering, it's a sacrifice. How you're supposed to do it, that's a judgment, right? You can't put a difference between judgment and what the Most High God has prescribed that you should do. Those are the same thing. So the sacrifice that David had to make for the transgression against the Gibeonites on behalf of Saul, that's a judgment, yes. But what was the judgment? That those men be sacrificed. So you can't put a difference between sacrifice and judgment. Sacrifice is the aspect of the judgment. It is, that's the judgment, right? So that's the point that brothers are making, and I think
I
it's
understand.
yeah, I think it wouldn't make sense to put a difference between the two. You understand? But
But let
I'm gonna
let
move
me
out
show
the
you
way
what
and
let me
let
show you what the
y'all
difference
build.
is. I'm gonna show you what the difference is. I appreciate that. I'm gonna show you what the difference is. Saul's children that were killed, that were made, that was put to death for atonement, were also guilty. You know what I'm saying? So that falls under the law of eye for eye. This is not a sacrifice for sins. They was guilty too. That's why they didn't want nothing from his house, because Saul's house shed the Gibeonites' blood and didn't care about the vow that was made with the Lord. You know what I'm saying? So that was eye for eye with his whole house. They was all guilty. This wasn't a sin sacrifice or anything like that. They had it coming.
Yeah.
That,
So what? Again? What
Wait,
was
it
the?
doesn't read. Wait, it doesn't read that those men did that.
Right. Though that's what that's
In
it.
fact,
Though.
in the
not
it don't
right,
say
not
that.
No, no,
right
no.
there, not
Show
right
me what
there.
the men was guilty at that died. Well, they was guilty for causing the famine.
I don't know that they didn't cause the famine. That was judgment from the
So
Most High
the
because of the
famine was
blood on the
judgment from
land.
the Most High.
That's right.
For
Okay.
As
So
what?
usual.
how did they appease the Most High and get the famine off the land?
The same way they do it anytime when the Most High said, "Put evil away from you." They put evil away
But
from
it
you
wasn't
because those men,
those men didn't do it to cause the famine.
the house of
No. But
Saul, was
those men,
shedding
hold
blood,
on,
bro.
those men did not do it. It was Saul himself. So Saul was already dead, right?
Saul gave the orders.
No. But Saul was still dead.
He was, but the men
Okay,
that
so if
carried out
Saul,
his
hold on.
orders
Okay, so
was not
listen, if
dead.
Saul, hold on. So in that case, who was the or what was the sacrifice, bro? The judgment to get the plague off of the land.
To kill the shedders of blood.
No. See, that's where you lying
It
at.
doesn't say that
It don't
it don't
say
say
that,
that
bro. We
those
just
sons
read,
were
and this
shed,
a
the
lot
ones who
of
shed
this
blood.
a
It don't
lot of
say
this
that.
antichrystism. It just be poor reading comprehension. Let's read it again, bro. We just read 14 verses.
I know what we
Hold
just
on,
read,
bro.
brother, but we
Listen to
got to
verse
read
1.
before
It
that.
say,
We got to read
then there
before
was a
that.
famine in the days of David 3 years. Year
What
after
was
year. What's that, man? Come on, man. Really?
what was going on before the famine,
Hold on,
brother?
bro. Hold on,
Why is
bro.
that
Then
famine
there
there?
was a famine in the days of David 3 years, year after year. Now, David is king. Saul been dead for a
Hold on real
while.
quick. Hold on real quick. Hey, who was that was on the stage?
I don't know who that Yeah, was. I
Put them down.
Yeah,
They
hey,
I
block
don't
them
know.
from this room.
Yeah, I don't know who that was.
Yeah, let me see if I can find
They were trolling.
Yeah, block them
it. Yeah.
from this room. This is not a space for idiots. This is a space for scholars
Facts.
So
and
you
respected minds. All right, but y'all continue, brothers.
so this just let anybody on the stage that they then, huh? So back to what we was reading, because Scholar's supposed to be up here. It say, then there was a famine in the days of David 3 years, year after year. And David inquired of the Lord, and the Lord answered, it is for Saul and for his bloody house, because he slew the Gibeonites. And the king called the Gibeonites unto them. Now the Gibeonites were not of the children of Israel, but of the remnant of the Amorites, and the children of Israel had sworn to them. And Saul sought to slay them in his zeal to the children of Israel. No problem over here. Now, when we get back up to verse 1, David is in office. Saul is not still in office. Saul is dead. The person that's responsible for the crimes, is he dead? Yes or no?
Yeah, Saul gave the orders. Saul is
Right.
dead.
It don't matter who you say he gave the order to. Saul, the person responsible, is dead.
Who it don't matter to?
It don't say, do it say Saul?
The house of Saul? It say the house of Saul.
It say Saul in his bloody house.
That's right.
So
Who else in there?
Saul did this.
Saul gave the orders. Who carried them out?
It don't matter who carried him out. When you the king, you
It
guilty.
obviously matters to the Most High. Yeah, I agree with that. He's the
So
responsible party. He's
so
the
if
head.
it's Saul, can you show me where these specific men carried the orders out?
It's right there in the verse. His
Okay,
bloody
now let's
house,
see if
brother.
these men did it. Wherefore, verse 3, wherefore David said unto the Gibeonites, what shall I do to make it unto you? And wherefore shall ye make the atonement that ye may bless it? And the Gibeonites said unto him, we will have no silver, nor gold of Saul, nor his house, neither pray for us, neither for us shall thou kill any man in Israel. He said unto you, what shall I do for you? And they answered, the man that consumed us. Did they say the men or the man?
They say the man.
Is that singular or plural?